Hello, everyone. Give it a minute to let people get in. Let me make sure. All right. Hello. I gotta send my link out. I didn't even send my link out to anybody. I got sidetracked. Hi, everyone. We're gonna cover the West Memphis Three tonight. So, if anyone wants to come up on panel, I will share the StreamYard link too. Alright. And I'm late. I know, I am. I was rushing. And I have some people up here and probably some more that'll be coming up to come talk about the case with me. So that'll be fun. Annalise and Mel are up here.
Hi.
Hi. All right. So I like this one website. It's called Famous Trials, in case you guys want to read it. I'm gonna read like a little thing up there. It's actually a website that a law professor put together, and he does a really good job. He puts like all the interviews and we have like a in detail account of it. There's a timeline. There's, hey Crystal, hey New Orleans lady. Something just flew by me. There's a timeline. There's maps. There's witness accounts. There's all kinds of stuff. So I will share that too in case anybody wants the website, and I will. Sorry, I let myself get distracted. Alright, there's a link in case anyone else wants to come up. And well, I guess I'll share this so you guys can see the picture and stuff. Hey, cool gamer. I might have to change it. Hold on, let me see. There we go. Is it in higher quality now? I changed it to 720 at least. I don't know. See, I'm afraid to change it more than that because I'm streaming on Twitch too, and I feel like when you have it high, certain people can't see it. I think I'm just gonna stay with 720. All right. Did I miss anyone? All right. Let me pull up my screen. All right, so these are the three boys. This is like a really sad case too. Hey, Jim. There's a lot. Like, before I get into it, let me explain this. That's fine, Jim. Whenever you want to come up, just let me know, and I'll post the link in StreamYard. Jem is like obsessed with this case, so she could be helpful to me in case I get anything wrong, which I've watched. So there's a lot of documentaries. There's Paradise Lost is one, if anyone wants to watch it. I think it's an HBO documentary. And FYI, hey Fancy Macy, FYI, if you plan on watching it, be prepared because like right off the bat, like not far into it all, they show the actual bodies of the kids. I guess somebody was filming. Yeah, keep it 720. I guess somebody was filming right when they discovered the bodies, and it's like they have the clips in the HBO documentary. There's 3 different Paradise Lost. There's a movie with Reese Witherspoon in it called Devil's Knot. What's the other one? West of Memphis, I think it's called. Yeah, all HBO. 3 Paradise Lost, all on HBO. And West of Memphis and Devil's Knot. I don't know if there's any other ones, but they're like the main ones that I know of. So basically, these 3 boys were out playing and didn't come home. Chris Byers, Michael Moore, and Stevie Branch. So on a warm, sunny May day, 3 8-year-old boys set off on a bike ride around their hometown of West Memphis, Arkansas. The next afternoon, their bruised and mutilated, hog-tied naked bodies were pulled from a stream, setting off an all-out effort to find their murderers. Within a month, investigators were convinced they had found the killers, 3 out of the mainstream teenagers who would become known as the West Memphis Three. The convictions and court battles that followed provide a cautionary tale for police and prosecutors too sure of their instincts and too quick to rely on questionable evidence that supports them. And, hey, Sarah. Fancy that joke. But yeah, so they really, like a lot of people believe that the police were very quick to jump on these guys because they were like goth, I guess. I don't know how you would. Hey, Matt. I don't know. Like they were like goth, and the one guy, Damien Eccles, he was, he liked to read about Wicca, and I know you'll love my avatar. I can't see it. I need to put my glasses on to try and see the avatar. Hold on. Hey, Captain Kangaroo. I literally can. Your avatar looks like Sloth from a distance. That's all I see, literally. Well, let me share StreamYard again, just in case. I see Sloth from the Goonies. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's what I see. But I'm totally blind, so. All right, I'm gonna take my glasses off because they get this like glare in them, but I might need to put them on. Okay, where was I? Okay, so they basically zoned in on these guys because when they found the kids, one of the kids, which I believe is the child who was in water. Close, it's a character from Freaked Hilarious movies from the 90s. I knew I was close. That's what it looked like. It looks like Sloth. Hey, green screen. So this one kid, Byers, Chris Byers, when they found his body, that's even hard to talk about. It looked as though that his genital area was mutilated, and they believed that was from like a satanic ritual. But later they had come to the conclusion that it could have been from turtles or like fish. Sorry, I get Chris Byers. I thought Stranger Things was Jonathan Byers and what was the other one? Will Byers? But yeah, Byers and Stranger Things for sure. They're definitely Byers. Yeah, turtles. Yep. So it could have been turtles, and it could have not have been some satanic cult, but that led them down the satanic path, and they had already been had their eyes on Damien Eccles because he had gotten in trouble before. I think he had gotten a fight. If I remember correctly, I could be totally wrong, but there was no sexual assault. Okay. So, yeah, there was no sexual assault with the children.
And they had no DNA evidence.
No.
Did they? There's no DNA evidence in the trial.
Well, later they had found Terry Hobbs, which was Stevie Branch's stepdad's, hair on. All right, so whoever killed them used the kids' shoelaces to hogtie them. And on the shoelace that was on Chris Byers was one of Terry Hobbs' hairs. But he claims that the hair could have transferred from Chris Byers. Oh, I hit my mic. Chris Byers coming over to play. Small town thinking can be obscured, for sure. Yeah, it was very and it's a very Bible Belt community, like very, very Bible Belt. So they were very much around the whole devil thing. So this is a good explanation. About 8 p.m. on May 5th, 1993, the West Memphis Police Department received a call from John Mark Byers, reporting that his son, Christopher Byers, was missing. Byers and his wife, Melissa, told the patrol officer that Chris had last been seen about 5:30 working in the yard. Within the next 90 minutes, police responded to 2 more calls from worried parents. Dana Moore says she saw her son, Michael, riding on bikes with 2 friends around 6 o'clock, but he never made it back for dinner. Pam Hobbs said she hadn't seen her son, Stevie Branch, since he left for school. News of the 3 missing 8-year-old boys led to a search of a mosquito-infested 4-acre woods near the Interstate 40 where neighborhood children would sometimes play. So, I think there's a map. Hold on. Give me a second. I'll find it. So there's a map, and I'll give you guys an idea. Oh, here they are. Maps. Okay. So okay, so the kids' houses were in this area. Hopefully you guys can see. And the patch of woods was like a couple blocks this way, and then here where these are, there's like a patch of woods. And from that side, oh, that one's not there. All right, from that side, you have to cross this pipe that goes over a canal. Hey, Pecan Pie. Hey, Fruity Pebbles. I'm from a small town, and police were so corrupt that the township eventually voted to get rid of the little police department. Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, it's shocking how, like, I've looked into a lot of cases, and there's a lot of cases with corrupt police officers and prosecutorial misconduct. I always mess that word up when I'm trying to say it. So anyway, yeah, there's a like a pipe that goes over a canal, and then they had to cross this pipe to get into this patch of woods. And then I believe there was another stream separate from the canal that the boys were found in. All right, so the search of the woods called Robin Hood Hills turned up nothing, at least that night. The next morning, Chief Inspector Gary Gitchell announced he would be headed up the search for the missing boys. In the early afternoon, Steve Jones, a juvenile officer, spotted a black tennis shoe floating in the water of a ditch in the Robin Hood Hills near where the woods bordered the Blue Beacon car wash. 15 minutes later, Sergeant Mike Allen of the West Memphis Police pulled the naked body of a child to the banks of the ditch, and yellow crime tape went up around the area. Within an hour, police recovered 2 more bodies of children. Both were naked, with wrists bound to ankles with shoelaces. The body of one of the boys, identified that of Chris Byers, was found with his scrotum gone and his penis skinned. Again, at the time, they had thought that it was intentionally done, but it could have been turtles. Gitchell walked to the edge of the woods where a large crowd had gathered to report the news of the discovery. Upon hearing the news, Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of Stevie Branch, fell to the ground and wept. I didn't see Terry Hobbs fall, but I've seen Pamela Hobbs. They have a video of her when she finds out, and she just screams and rolls over completely. Soon after the bodies were removed from Robin Hood Hills, rumors began circulating that the killings might have been the work of devil worshippers. Inspector Gitchell did nothing to squelch the rumors when he told reporters that his department was investigating the possibility that the murders were connected with cold activity. The West Memphis Police Department assigned the case number 93050-666 to the murder file. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but oh yeah, snapping turtles can totally do some damage. I've heard a couple people literally have had their fingers cut off from turtles, like missing whole fingers. Especially if there's big ones. There's ones that are like small dinosaurs, like huge.
So they probably thought it could have been food, that it might have been
eating.
trying to eat.
Turtles will eat anything, literally. Like,
yeah,
especially snapping turtles. You put something in the water that they can eat, they'll definitely go after it. Surprisingly, I have a turtle, which we got fish for him to eat, and somehow he just made friends with them, and now I have 4 giant goldfish and a turtle. But I don't know how that happened. They're too big for him to eat now, but
made friends with his food.
Yep. On May 7th, Steve Jones, the juvenile officer who first discovered the bodies, interviewed a troubled local teenager, Damien Eccles, who had been under the watchful eye of another juvenile officer, Jerry Driver, for some time. Eccles was a 17-year-old dropout with a history of psychiatric problems, including major depression. Eccles wrote dark poems, dressed mostly in black, wore long hair, had a tattoo on his upper arm, and was self-described wicked. In the previous couple of years, Eccles allegedly had threatened his former girlfriend and the boy she was dating, as well as his father. During part of the several-month stay with his mother in Oregon in 1992, Eccles had been admitted to a psychiatric ward and placed under suicide watch. Returning to Arkansas in the fall, Eccles briefly entered a juvenile detention center before being transferred to a psychiatric hospital in Little Rock after biting and attempting to suck blood from the arm of another detainee. Following his release from Little Rock Hospital, Eccles returned to West Memphis, where he met regularly with a social worker at a mental health center. The social worker reported in her notes that Eccles told her he might become another Charles Manson or Ted Bundy. Jerry Driver's knowledge of Eccles convinced him that Damien might have a lot to do with the murders of Chris Byers, Michael Moore, and Stevie Branch, and he pushed his suspicions with members of the West Memphis Police Department. So they questioned it. I can't read this whole thing because it's like super long. And hey, Nina, snapping turtles could 100% be responsible for the general mutilation, not only to be gross, but the penis is the easiest part of the body to go after for the animals. Yeah, I agree. They can easily kill ducks. Yeah, big ones for sure. They could definitely kill ducks. I mean, I seen some big ones that could probably fit my whole hand in their mouth, like huge. Please question Eccles about the Hills murders 3 separate times between May 7th and May 10th, twice at the trailer park where he lived and once at the police station. Eccles told investigators he never heard of the 3 boys and that the person who committed the murders was obviously sick. He said he spent the evening of May 5th at home with his mother, talking on the phone with 2 girlfriends in Memphis. In his notes of the police station interview, Lieutenant James Sudbury reported that he stated the killer is probably someone local and that he won't run. He noted that Eccles likes to read books by Stephen King and has evil across his left knuckles. Eccles willingly took a polygraph test. The administrating officer concluded that Eccles recorded significant responses indicative of deception. In addition to Eccles, investigators focused their attention on Jason Baldwin, a friend of Damien's, who also had evil inked across his left knuckles. Now, oh, there's Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hi.
Hi.
How's everyone doing?
Okay. So, what do you think about, all right, Damien, I think, is a little bit, dark, and, I don't think he did it, but, if there was somebody out of the three that I think who did it, it would be Eccles, but Baldwin, I feel like Jason Baldwin is, the sweetest kid that wouldn't hurt a fly. From, watching the things I've watched, he's, I'm surprised he even had evil, across his knuckles.
Yeah. I mean, I think he was just like that edgy kind of teen. And
Yeah.
and he did have some psychological issues, but
Baldwin did?
sorry?
Did Baldwin had psychological
No,
issues?
he didn't at all. No, he was just more of like that artistic kid, He'd always be like drawing in his notebooks and was like a big fan of heavy metal and whatnot. So he was kind of like,
He looks so scared in every
he
interview.
did.
At least
Yeah.
Damien was a little more confident.
Yes, he was cocky. I mean, from what a lot of like the people like Rollins and all these other celebrities, they sort of identified with Eccles the most because he was kind of like outgoing and weird, but kind of proud to be weird. You know what I mean? Like they liken themselves to him. I think that's why a lot of those guys actually stuck up for them because they kind of saw themselves in Damien in particular.
Yeah, yep.
Like Eddie Vedder and Henry Rollins and
There's a lot of people.
yeah,
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp.
played a huge role in getting them out.
Mhm.
Even Metallica did too, didn't Metallica?
Yes, they loaned their music to all the documentaries. They hardly ever do that. I don't know if you've ever watched a movie with Metallica music. Yeah.
Metallica's one of those bands. I think they sued.
Napster. Yeah, they did.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah, they're very protective of their music, and so they were really behind the three of them. But yeah, Damien was definitely the one I think that a lot of them identified with the most.
Yep. Yeah. And then, all right. So Jason, he was. So Vicky Hutchinson. Sorry, she was. I watched the movie, the Devil's Knot movie last night. I don't remember Vicky in the documentaries, but she was the redhead chick.
Yeah, she was in some of the documentaries, just sort of her testimony in the first one, but in West of Memphis, she takes back everything that she said. And apologizes and straight out comes out and says, I lied. It was all like the police had sort of asked me if I could try to set him up, and I'd invite him over to the house and have like witchy books on the table and whatever. And anyways, yeah, she admitted that she was lying. Everything she said on the stand was a lie. She says that. Yeah.
It's crazy that so she basically just committed perjury and lied.
Yeah, she did, and she admits it too. So I mean, you can't get much more clear than that. She admitted that she lied. Also, that other kid that had, I guess, Jason had been in prison with for a little bit, had said that Jason confessed to him and had said, what he had done to the boys, like sexually. And then he also came out about 10-15 years later. He's also in the documentary in West of Memphis and says that he absolutely lied too. and that they promised him like a shorter sentence because he was in jail on some other stuff, and he basically apologized to the guys and said that he had been lying too. So you got Vicky Hutchinson saying she was a lie. She lied. And then this other boy, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but these are supposed to be like
the Aaron kid.
Oh, Darren. Yes, Darren. That's his name.
There was an Aaron who
Oh,
was
the little kid.
Yeah.
Yes, the little kid. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, how reliable is a little kid?
So the little kid, I was confused. Did he say he was there when it happened, or that he had been in the woods with them before?
So he said he was there when it happened, but he clearly wasn't, right? He had gone to his mom and everybody and said, yeah, no, I was there and I got away, right? And he just made up some really fantastical stories that like made no sense. I mean, he was a little kid, right? But yeah, no, he claimed he had been there.
That he was with them before in the woods, and then they had seen Damien and them engaging in like sex acts.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I don't know how old that kid was, and I'm not sure what he says now, but he was pretty young. I would say he was like 8 or 9 or something, right?
Because he hung out with him, so he had to be like 8 or 9.
Right.
So, for those who don't know, Vicky Hutchinson, she was like a neighbor who was she trying to like seduce them and like flirt with them, or she just
Yeah, well, she basically, I'm not sure if she maybe had some sort of like drug issues or something where the cops had something over her, right? But she admits to working with them for whatever reason. I'm not sure what that was, but she like straight out now says that everything she said was a lie. She would invite Damien over to her house. And yeah, it seemed like a little bit of a honeypot kind of situation. You know what I mean? Like they used her in that way. But
so Jason,
like I said,
one friend, he had the hey Gladys. He had the IQ of like they said like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, Jesse. Yeah, Jesse.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, so he's the one who did the confession. But if you watch that, they absolutely, it really reminded me of the Brandon.
Was all wrong though.
Like, it was all wrong. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Brandon Dassey situation because he also was like low IQ. They led him through the entire interrogation. They didn't have the whole thing on camera either. They just started filming once he admitted it in the way that they wanted him to admit it, it just doesn't hold any water. I mean, everything he said he was led through that. And yeah, his IQ, I believe, was somewhere around 80.
Yeah.
So
they said it was like he had the like mental capacity of like a 5-year-old. So they had him in there for over 12 hours.
That's right. Yeah.
And he said that the murders were committed in the afternoon, but in the afternoon they were all still in school, so it couldn't happen. Like his evidence didn't match what he
didn't match at all. And another thing is he had an alibi. He had an alibi. There was like at least 6 people that went during the original trial up that said that Jesse was with them at a wrestling match. There's even pictures of him being there, and he had to sign in to get into this wrestling event. And for some reason, the jury just sort of glossed over that, like, oh yeah, all these 6 kids are lying. Like, no.
So he couldn't have been there if he was.
He absolutely could not have been there. Unless all those 6 people are lying and that picture is lying, it's just strange how they ignored alibis that were like rock solid, Oh,
wait, we can look at Vicky's tail real quick.
Oh, cool.
All right, let's see what you said. Right around with. So was she wasn't related to Aaron, was she? Oh. So wait, whoa. The kid Aaron, who gave a statement, was Vicky's son?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or
She was
related to her somehow?
yeah, I think it was her son. I could be wrong, but I think it was her son. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well,
Very
that makes
strange.
it even more.
I know, it makes it even more shady, right? Mm-hmm.
So PK, that's not true. The wrestling alibi was false. It was on a different day. Oh,
Um, okay.
well,
That I didn't.
I'm sure it's on here. They got plenty of stuff. We'll look into it.
Yeah, no, no. There's a lot of people that still think that they're guilty.
I
So,
know.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like even Pam thinks Tara did it, so I kind of think
Mm-hmm.
Terry could have possibly, or the guy from Bojangles restaurant. I mean, it's kind of odd that some guy just shows up
Like, what are
like
the chances, right?
yeah, covered in blood. Like
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I started reading the case file. Like I got kind of
Mm-hmm.
far into the case file, but there's so much stuff in there. Like I don't
Oh,
even know
yeah.
where. I have
Where
so
to
much
start?
I might have to do like a part two.
Oh,
Once I
this is a whole series, girl. There's so much to
yeah,
talk about.
like I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to do like a series where I can I'll gloss over the main stuff now
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe do like a series where I can break it down but that I didn't know Aaron lived with her now. That's interesting. So Michael Moore and Chris Byers were his only friends, the only two he did run with. She picked Aaron up from school. I was waiting there in the teacher's park watching for Aaron. It was 15 after 3. Michael Moore came to the side of my truck and Chris Byers to the other. And Aaron, close to them, they were telling me, Miss Vicky, there's a Cub Scout thing tonight and Aaron needs to go. And Michael's father is their troop leader. And Michael was really insistent upon Aaron going. And they just kept saying, there's a Cub Scout thing. She said, no, this is Wednesday night. Cubs are tomorrow, Thursday night. And they just kept on. Finally, they got it through. He wasn't going to go because I just thought they wanted to go and play. He said, well, then can Aaron just come to my house and you can pick him up in 2 hours, which I had done frequently, so he had assumed I would do it then. I just said no because I had some errand. So she went to the store at 5:30. Grocery store. So what is that the day that it happened, or what? I want to see where she talks about. Okay, so she turned on the TV. Sorry, I'm just glossing through this to see if I can. Okay, let me see if I can find where. Is that ADD? All right, Jesse Misskelley lives down the street from me, and you know that I was really close to him anyway, because he was always around. He doesn't go to school or anything. He helps me mow the lawn and stuff, and I got really close with him, and he made mention after this came out that he saw Chris Byers over by the beacon that morning, on the morning that, they were found, and that Chris was in a pink shirt, and even picked him out. Sorry, I need to drink real quick. Picked him out in the paper to me, and that I lost my spot. Okay. That was odd for him to say something like that. So I just kept talking with Jesse because Jesse's, I mean, not a bad kid, but you don't know who people know. So I just kept talking to Jesse about stuff, and Jesse told me about a friend of his named Damien, and this friend drank blood and stuff. He just kept going on and on about how weird he was. So by the way, the stuff that we knew, the public knew that was coming out in the paper, stuff I just thought how they were killed was odd, but maybe it was like a devil worshipping thing, or something just hit me that might be it. And I thought that this kid doing this, maybe he knew something. Sorry, it's hard to read this because it's a bunch of run-on sentences. There's like no periods. Oh wait, hold on, let me read before I continue on. My advice for anyone wanting to learn more about the case: do not watch the documentary. Yeah.
Are they currently testing DNA?
So they've been talking about it for a while, and I don't know like what the deal is. Jen, maybe you. I know they had they found the hair, and there was supposed to be some DNA testing going on.
That's right. Yeah, so they did. There was some hair found in one of the ligatures of one of the boys. I can't remember which one, but it did come back to Terry Hobbs, matched Terry Hobbs' hair. And then they also had found another hair that matched his friend Jacoby, Derek Jacoby, I think his name was. Now, this was the guy that Terry had claimed he was searching for Stevie with all night. Now, that guy says that he was definitely not with him the entire night, that Terry had left for hours at a time.
Oh, yeah, I heard that
back. Yeah. So they did match those two DNA through DNA to Terry and to Derek. So yeah.
Wait, Derek was the guy that was with him?
Yeah, Derek was his friend, Derek Jacoby.
Wait, did the DNA come back to Derek Jacoby too?
Yes, on another hair. Yeah, there was 2 hairs found, one linked to Derek, and then the one that was actually in the ligature itself, like tied up in one of the knots, was Terry Hobbs's hair, which they had got his DNA off of cigarette butts when they went to pretend to interview him years later, which was I believe the Innocence Project people, or the people working on behalf of the West Memphis Three boys.
So me and Dave were watching Devil's Knot last night, and he made a good point when the guy went into Bojangles restaurant and left blood like all over the place. Did they not even do anything?
So what had happened was that night. Sorry. So that night,
Lex, basically it's kind of like split down the middle. A lot of people think Hobbs did it, and a lot of people think that the 3 guys did it. I mean, like, if the 3 guys did it, I could definitely see, like, Damien Eccles could have, but I don't know. I can't with Jason Baldwin. I just can't see that kid.
I don't see him doing that either. But sorry to not. I got interrupted on the other from somebody in the other room. So with the Bojangles incident, there was only one cop on duty that night in the whole town of West Memphis. So she had gone to the Bojangles restaurant, but never actually went inside and saw the blood and all that for herself.
So I guess they cleaned it before.
So that's exactly what happened. They cleaned it. And then days later, or it could have been weeks later, the cops did come back and did try and take samples from the wall, like I guess took parts of the wall off. But they never tested it or did anything with it. So who was that guy?
Yeah, just to have like,
maybe they didn't have enough there because it was cleaned. I don't know, but they did go back and take some evidence from the Bojangles restaurant and never did anything with it. So, I mean, and that guy showed up in there with no shoes, covered in blood at the same time that these murders were committed. I mean, that's crazy. Like, to never have found, like, who was that guy? You know?
So it's a very small police department, like an inexperienced police department. Is that?
Almost definitely it's a small town, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they only had, like I said, they only had one officer, like one patrol officer on duty that whole night. So she had to go to all these different, so like when the different parents were calling in their children missing, she would be the one that was showing up. And then the Bojangles people called and she showed up there. Like, she was the only one that was going around, you know? And this, so yeah, it's very small police force.
When I
can't
was looking
remember.
into this case a few years ago, I just got the impression that it was very, like, it wasn't well done, like the evidence collection, and it was, I just got this feeling it was very scrappy police work.
Yeah. It definitely, in my opinion, it was. But I mean, I like I said, if there was evidence pointing to the three guys, I can't, like, Damien Eccles, maybe it's because his cockiness, I'm like, maybe I can see it, but Jason Baldwin just seems like the most fragile, like, kid who just, like, wouldn't hurt a fly, and I just have such a hard time thinking that he did it. I could see the guy, like, I think it's definitely possible the guy from the Bojangles thing could have done it for sure.
I mean, for me, like, just not to skip ahead too much, but like, for me, really what makes me think it was Terry is his past criminal record, which did involve hurting children. A lot of accusations within the family that he'd even molested some of the children in their family. But not just that. That night he wasn't completely accounted for the whole night. And the hog tying thing, I think that was such a personal, special detail to one kind of person. How did 16, 17-year-old boys know how to hog tie bodies? Well, Terry knew because he worked in his dad's factory or whatever that would be, where they would kill cattle and kill hogs, and that's the way they would transport them. So he knew very well how to do that. And what is obviously Damien, Jason, and Jesse didn't have that kind of experience. I mean,
it felt personal to me too. Like,
yes. And like, that's not very many people know how to do that. You know what I mean?
And I heard there was 3 different knots too, like 3 different.
Yes.
I think people just said that too.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think that they have said that the difference in the knots might be more than one person.
Oh, yeah. Well, that would make sense if the Jacoby guy was with them. Right?
Yeah, it would make sense, right? Yeah. Yeah, he could have done it. He could have done it with someone else. I mean, that's totally possible. I just don't see how those 16, 17-year-olds would have known how to do that. They weren't hunters. They weren't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just a strange little detail that I think says a lot about the killer, you know?
Yeah. Lex, he was Stevie Branch's stepdad, and Pam, Stevie's mom, said that he was abusive, and that he had did he, like, destroy a bunch of Stevie's things?
He did, yeah.
He did.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
She kept all these keepsakes up for Stevie, which I would have.
And he basically told her, you got to move on from this. And because, obviously she was depressed. I mean, her child was murdered, and he started getting angry, jealous that she wasn't getting over it fast enough for him. So he destroyed a bunch of Stevie's stuff.
Hey, let me, it's being asked, weren't they in Boy Scouts? Yeah, they were in Boy Scouts,
They
the
were,
boys, or at least one of them was.
yeah,
Maybe
they
more than
actually,
one.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
more than one word. I'm not sure about Byers, but Stevie Branch and Michael Moore were both in Scouts. Yeah.
Yeah, even in an interview, she wears his Boy Scout like
Yes.
bandana
Yeah.
pants.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were in Scouts. Yeah.
And wasn't there? I remember reading that there was something that happened with Terry. Was it his daughter
Yeah.
or yeah, something like inappropriate behavior with his daughter, something like that.
Yeah. There's some claims there. The daughter, I'm pretty sure she's a drug addict. Amanda, the little sister of Stevie. So I guess in interviews she said because they've claimed that he molested them, like her and Stevie, but she's never come out and said that. She said if that did happen, she doesn't remember, but she says, obviously something happened to me when I was a child because I'm really messed up, right? But she never admitted that, yeah, my dad did do that. And then there was other people in their family, like he had told his brother that he had committed the murders, and so his nephew, so his brother's son, had overheard them talking about it. And he was with a friend at the same time, so there was him and a friend sitting at the top of the stairs listening to his dad and Terry, so his dad and his uncle, talking about how Terry felt really bad that he had done this thing and he was crying and everything, and the young man's dad had said, nobody will ever know. These guys are arrested, they're put in jail for this, nobody will ever know what you did. So that kid, that not the nephew of Terry Hobbs, but the kid that was sitting there on the stairs with him, he had gone to the police or the investigators about it, and I think that they had done a polygraph on him, and he was telling the truth, according to the polygraph anyway.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wait, who were you talking about with the polygraph?
So Terry Hobbs's nephew's friend had overheard, had overheard Terry Hobbs and Terry Hobbs' brother talking about how this was like a family secret, that Terry had felt really guilty over. He was crying, and these two boys overheard that.
Didn't Terry write a book too?
Did Terry write a book? I don't know about that. Maybe he did, but I'm not sure.
He wrote a book, and I'm kind of into him. I'm pretty sure he did. I remember hearing that he wrote.
Well, the Byers stepdad, he took a polygraph.
Yeah, Box Full of Nightmares. It's called Box Full of Nightmares.
So he did write a book.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, wait, I have a little video I can play. Hold on.
So tell me about the book and why you decided it.
Oh, I don't know if I'll be able to hear it. Hold on. Let me change my speaker. Oh, wait. It is on the right one. Huh. All right, let me know if you guys can hear this.
Well, there's been a lot of things happening
It's quiet.
for years. People have come
Let me try something.
out of the woodwork and said this and this, and people have done things. And a lot of them are wrong. And I've let it be.
Can you guys hear that? Or is it too quiet?
I can hear it. It's a little quiet though.
Hold on, let me see. Let me see how long this is.
New at 5, more than 20.
Okay, good. Here we go. I think he talks about it right here. Let's see. Hopefully. This is short. Okay. Let me mute. Hold on.
25 years after the murders of 3 8-year-old boys in West Memphis, a new book gives a first-person account of what was happening behind the scenes.
Sorry, y'all. I had to share my other screen. Hold up, I'm going to play it now.
New at 5, more than 25 years after the murders of 3 8-year-old boys in West.
You can hear that, right? Is that one better?
Yep.
Okay.
West Memphis, a new book gives a first-person account of what was happening behind the scenes. Box Full of Nightmares is the personal memoir of Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of one of the children murdered. Local 24 News senior investigator Jenny DePrizio sits down exclusively with Hobbs for his first television interview since the book was published.
It's called Box Full of Nightmares, and Terry Hobbs says it's called that for a reason.
I had a big box. I would journal something, put it in the box.
Hobbs, with the help of an author, put all that journaling into a book about the 1993 murders of his stepsons, Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Chris Byers.
And it's my perspective of what happened in 1993, 26 years ago, in West Memphis, Arkansas.
Damien Eccles, Jason Baldwin, and Jesse Misskelley were convicted of murdering the children. They were released from prison in 2011 on what's called an Alford plea after new forensic evidence was presented as part of the case. Hobbs describes what it was like the day the three walked free.
It's just like ripping the wound, Band-Aid off a wound, hurt all over again.
Over the years, there's been lots of speculation and finger pointing as to who was responsible. Hobbs says,
I still believe in my heart that Jesse, Jason, and Damien Eccles are responsible for what happened to our children. You look at what happened, and then you wonder, what if this did not happen? Where would our boys be today? We didn't get to see them grow up.
coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, find out what else Hobbs is doing.
I'm curious to read that. Yeah, that's Gomez, by the way, Pecan. He's my all right, now I gotta figure out where that tell me I X'd out of all the other stuff. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Yeah, I want to read that book now. I'm kind of intrigued. Actually, on the other side. Sorry, y'all. There we go. Yeah, so, where do we leave off? Okay, I'm going to go back to, I wanted to read hers, but, oh, so this is what I wanted to ask. Wasn't, Mark Byers, from what she's saying, their Boy Scout thing? I've even heard some things about the Byers, like they were, questionable.
Yeah, they did some questionable stuff, but the actual troop leader was Michael Moore's dad.
Interesting. But I mean,
Yeah.
like, they would know how to tie.
I mean, that's yeah, the thing about Michael Moore's dad was that he was literally the only one that was out of town that day. He's a truck driver.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even in town that night, but he was the Boy Scout leader. And yeah, there's some questionable stuff about the Byers. They were caught stealing, I think, $20,000 of property from their neighbor.
And like one of them OD too, and like
Yeah, so the mother, Melissa Byers, they're not, well, I guess at the time her death was undetermined, but she I think believed died of sort of like a benzo overdose or something along those lines.
yeah.
But yeah, that's as much as I know about that. But yeah, they have a little bit of, and he also was involved. I think he had gotten, like, I don't know, there's such a weird story about him where two kids were gonna fight, and he, like, teenagers, and he's like a grown-ass man. This was after the murders. And
he walked out and like got in the middle of it, or he encouraged it, like, didn't he?
he encouraged it, and like had a gun out on them, like basically saying, like, this was his argument, was that he was saying he used the gun in order that nobody else would get involved. But it was just so weird. Like, who would
It
do
felt like
that?
he was forcing them to fight or something like that.
Right. It was just the weirdest story. I was like, what?
I remember reading about that.
Yeah.
That was in the case file.
Yeah. Strange. Very strange. Yeah.
So,
He's a strange guy. Yeah.
Yeah. This is Jesse Misskelley. He's the one with the very low IQ.
Very low IQ.
And his poor dad. So if you watch
Yeah.
the documentary, his poor dad, like, he loves this kid. And
You know what? He really, I mean, that's probably one of the sweetest, like the nicest characters in all of this. Not characters like they're in a movie, but his dad, I find to be like the sweetest of all the parents. Like you can tell he genuinely loves his kid, you know?
His stepmom, you can tell, was starting to think that, like, maybe he had something to do with it. And she was like, and he would just shut her down. Like,
yeah.
no, like, I'm talking to my kid. You can't tell me what to do. That's my boy. Like, he's very protective.
Yeah, definitely. And you could see that it's genuine. Like, I actually really like his dad. I guess he would be Jesse Misskelley Sr., right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a. All right, let's see. I'm gonna read Jesse's statement. All right, so the date you received a phone call from Jason Baldwin. He called me and asked me if I would go to West Memphis with him, and I told him no. I had to work and stuff. He told me he had to go to West Memphis, so him and Damien and then I went with them. All right, Wednesday, that morning at 9:00. Hella sheltered. Hey, Missy. All right. Were you in the car? Whose car were you in? We walked. We walked, and then we went up to Robin Hood. Blue Beacon Truck Wash. By a Blue Beacon Truck Wash. A little patch of woods. So, behind Blue Beacon. So basically, they had a lot of leading questions already.
His entire confession was based on leading questions. None of the answers came from him genuinely or organically. They were all fed to him. Every single one. Like it was beyond that. It shouldn't even have been admissible, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so sad.
Yeah. It was really bad. Not one detail came from him organically. Not one. They were all leading by the detectives. Every question. Like, I mean, it was a lot, you know.
And I remember them. Did they promise that, like, he could sleep with his girlfriend in jail or something like that? So he would.
That I don't know. I don't know. But
I heard like he just, like, they told him that he would be able to, like, have conjugal visits with his girlfriend in jail for him, and he was, like, excited about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're right. That is, yeah.
Wow.
They said that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they said it in the documentary that, like.
Yeah.
I must have missed that. Yeah, but see, like a simple guy like that, you know what I mean? It was so sad. That whole interrogation was a bunch of bullshit. It should not have been allowed. It's like, it really shouldn't have been.
I want to see if they have a video of it, and I'll play it after I read this. When I was there, I saw Damien hit this one boy real bad, and then he started screwing them and stuff.
Which never happened.
Which never happened. There was no
evidence. There was no sodomy. There was none of that. You know, the genital mutilation thing, but like that could be easily, explained away by, like we were saying, with the turtles and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I think the most personal injury was the bite mark So that I'm always wondering, the bite mark to, I guess it was Stephen Branch's face. I don't know why they've never tried to match that to anybody's like bite marks. Like a bite mark is a very specific indicator of somebody. You know what I mean? Like they've never.
Like there was a bite mark on one of the kids.
Yeah, there was. If you look at the autopsy photos, you can see it's super clear. They never mentioned it in the original trial, but once they went back for appeals and such, the lawyers noticed that right away, and they thought, geez, why didn't they even mention this bite mark during the original trial? Because a bite mark evidence, I mean, he matched that bite mark up. You've got your killer, you know?
Yeah, Misskelley wasn't he 17 at the time? I think he was 17.
Yeah, he was 17. So Jason was 16, Jesse was 17, and Damien was 18.
Gotcha. So he said, all right, you got in front of you a picture that was taken out of the newspaper, I believe. It's got 3 boys, and there are 3 boys that were killed on that date in Robin Hood Woods. Okay, which one of these 3 boys is it you say Damien hit? The third picture, which will be Jesse said Michael Moore. This boy right here, yeah. All right, then that's the buyer's boy. That's who you're pointing at? Yes. If you read the caption, the grizzly slain from left, 8-year-old Michael Moore. Oh, so that you could see the caption. Well, was he able to read, do you know? I wonder if Jesse was able to read.
I think it was very limited.
Yeah, I think he was not.
Because if it had a caption under the picture of the boys, he could have just easily looked at the caption and read, like they were showing him a clip from the newspaper.
Yeah, yeah.
So he said he hit him with his fist and bruised him all up real bad, and then Jason turned around and hit Steve Branch. I just have a hard time seeing Jason doing that.
Me too. I feel like out of all of them, Jason, I just do not picture him.
No,
at all.
I mean,
I know that's just a gut thing, right? But yeah. I really don't see that man being violent in like as a kid or now. Like he just is not that kind of you just tell, you know.
I mean, Damien, I could maybe see it, but not Jason. No.
Yeah, like, definitely not Jason.
I could see Damien being problematic and
sure. Yeah. I'll definitely agree with that.
I mean,
and Jesse had some violence too. He liked to fight, and things like that. So yeah, it was. But Jason really didn't fit that.
Talking to his dad on the phone, and he was just talking about wanting to beat people up in jail. Jesse.
Yes, yeah. He's super, and he's also a super like honest. You know how simpler.
His dad was people, like, "Yeah, beat him up," you know, like
yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's simple in that way where you feel like, you know, he wouldn't be a good liar. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I can see that pecan. I can see them wanting to please and impress Eccles. I can see that if he was like a ringleader. Type,
oh yeah, sure.
Friend, you know,
sure. Yeah, definitely.
But I mean, I could see Jesse. I don't know if
I just don't see Jason. I just don't see Jason even with whatever.
You can't judge a book by its cover, but I just like every time I see an interview with him, I gotta find an interview so you guys can see. He just has a very
there's not
passive way.
I agree with you there. There's never been one interview with him that I've seen where I could picture him at all being like that. You know, like at all. I mean, these are brutal murders. Like this was ugly, you know. I just don't see him being a part of it. I really don't.
He's down in a close field, close to the intercept. When he hits the first boy, and then Jason hits another boy, and one takes off running. Where does he run to? Do you know?
So if
was there bruises on them?
There was I think the person that had the most bruising, which again brings me back to Terry Hobbs, was Stephen Branch, who also had the bite mark on his cheek and seemed to have gotten it worse than the others. right? Except for Byers, who had the supposed genital mutilation, which in my opinion wasn't that at all. It was probably happened post-mortem. But as far as like who was beat the worst, it was definitely Stephen Branch that had the most bruises and such on him. So
Interesting. When he hits the first boy and then Jason hits another boy, takes off running. Where does he run to? That one, he runs out the park, and I chased him and grabbed him and brought him back. Which way does he go? I mean, does he go back towards where the houses are? Is he going to Blue Beacon? Is he going towards the fields? Where does he run to? Towards the houses. Where the pipe is that goes across the yards? Yes, he ran out there, and I caught him and brought him back, and I took off. Okay, and when you came back a little bit later now, are all the three boys are tied? Yes. Is that right? Yes, and I took off and ran home. All right. Have they got their clothes on when you saw them? No, they had them off. They had already gotten them off. When he hit the first boy, when Damien hit the first boy, did they have their clothes on then? Yes. All right, when did they take their clothes off? Right after they beat all three of them, beat them up real bad, and they took their clothes off. Yes. And then they tied them. Tied their hands up, and they started screwing them and stuff, cutting them and stuff. I saw it and turned around and looked, and then I took off running. I went home, and they called me and asked me how come I didn't say. I told them I just couldn't. I couldn't stand to see what they were doing to him.
Hey, Jim, isn't it correct that their parents weren't there during their interrogations, right?
that's correct.
Okay,
their
it's
parents
being
were not-
asked, and I didn't think so.
Nope, they weren't. Yeah, another problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Money bags. I miss this. Sorry. Because he got me cracking up. All right. Anyway, Jason had a knife. What did he cut with the knife? What did you see him cut? Or who did you see him cut? I saw him cut one of the little boys. All right, where did he cut him? He was cutting him in the face. Cutting him in the face. All right, another boy was cut. I understand. Where was he cut at? At the bottom. On his bottom? Was he face down? He was cutting on him? He was. Now you're talking about bottom. Do you mean right here? Yes. In his groin area? Yes. Do you know what his penis is? Yeah, that's where he was cut at. That's where he was cut. Which boy was that? The one right there. You're talking about the Byers boy again. Yes. Okay. Are you sure that he was the one that was cut? That's the one I seen them cutting on. All right. Hold on. That's where I seen them going down at. He was on his back. I seen them going right down there, real close to it and stuff. I saw some blood, and that's when I took off. Were you all close to the creek at that point? Yes, sir. Where was the little boy actually at? He was close. All right, now you know where the bayou is, right? All right, and you know where the little creek is that goes out to the expressway, and it doesn't have a lot of water in it, but it got some water in it, and it's flowing through the, which side of the creek were you on? Were you on the Mississippi side or the Blue Beacon side? He said Blue Beacon. Eccles, I'm pretty sure did write a book. Eccles wrote a book, right, Jem? Like, if I recall.
Yeah,
He
he did.
wrote a book. Yeah.
I'm not Jem, but yeah, he did.
No, it's okay. Anyone can answer. I just knew Jem. I know Jem followed it a lot. So.
Sorry.
Where was I? We're going to correct it even further. That's the east side, the Memphis side, and you were standing at the top of the bank on the west side. Were you looking down at what was going on? I was looking down, and after I seen all that, I took off. When you left, did you hear any more holler or anything? No. All right, you went home, and about what time was that it all took place? About 12. About noon. All right, so yeah, this is where he gets the time wrong, too, right? Because
this is done at night. I mean, even all the questions to this point, they were giving him the answers in the questions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the way you conduct a police interview, and particularly with somebody who is low IQ like this. I mean, you're just giving him the ideas. So they're saying he's saying it happened at noon, and then they lead him into all the way like 9 o'clock at night. Like, you know what I mean? You're not going to screw that up. It's noon or 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
Which is it?
noon and late at night are very
Yes.
drastically different
Drastically different,
times
right?
of day. Yeah.
I mean, come on. Like this whole interrogation should have been thrown out from the very beginning. There, and then when it actually came time for the trial of Damien and Jason, he refused to go on the stand even with the promises they made him of a reduced sentence because he said it was a lie, you know? So, I mean, that takes a lot of character for him to do that, you know?
Yep.
If they really were these murderers and he felt bad about it, why would he care to flip on them in court? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't think those guys did it. I really don't.
Was he given breaks? I don't know if he was given breaks during the questioning, but they were definitely asking, leading.
They were leading. We don't know if he was given breaks because they didn't film or record the entire thing. They only started recording once they were starting to hear things that they wanted to, you know? So you don't have any footage of beforehand or, you know what I mean, what they were saying to him at all beforehand. They showed him the photos of the boy. It's just, I mean, it was just bad all the way around. I mean, he should have had a lawyer there, or at least his parents, somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know how that's even allowed, honestly. Is that still allowed? Is that still a thing that's allowed? Like,
What?
yeah, like if, let's say the kid wants to talk and he's underage, do the cops just allow them to talk, or
I think it's different per state, though. I think it just
per
depends
state?
on the
Okay,
state.
okay, yeah. Okay, that makes sense because that just seems so wrong,
Yeah, I would have to look that up, but yeah, I'm sure a lot of states would have it so that your parents have to be present. I mean, I'm pretty sure people even have parents or could have people present even if they're over. I mean, what's her name, dude? I can't. Watts chick.
Oh yeah, she did. That's right.
Her dad was there.
Yeah. Her dad was there. That's right. Yeah. And she was an adult. So
Sarah, did you read any of the books? Have you read any of the books, Sarah? I want to read. I know Eccles wrote one, and I know.
I haven't. I forgot I was muted. No, I haven't read any. I've just watched all the stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if Jason Ball. I know there's like 3 or 4 books that I read about. I want to read the Terry Hobbs one. I'm curious about that, but
yeah, and that one I'm now actually super. I didn't even know he wrote a book. That's the one I'm going to read next for sure. Because
I feel like his would be the most interesting. I don't know if he said it in the book or not, but I know he said that he believes that the hair was transferred from buyers coming over to his house to like play with the kids.
Yeah, it's not impossible, but for it to be found in the knot itself, I don't know.
That's why all my kids were taught only to say I want a parent and a lawyer if
Yep.
over 15. Seriously, I think if they have a minor detained, they can say they've called parentals and to wait. But if the kid keeps talking, they aren't going to tell them to stop or ignore what they're saying, I should say. Yeah. I totally agree. I think anyone, if you're ever in a legal situation, get a lawyer, because just after covering so many cases, it's like crazy how like prosecutors can spin stuff and the like, even with like several cases I've looked into, like even with the Morphew case, there was things that were just totally like left out, or that they should have done that they didn't, or like for instance when they had the pings, they like presented it as, you know, they had evidence that he was running around, but the expert who went over the pings had told them that it really wasn't a viable theory because of static drift, which if you have like a phone at a small area, several satellites will try and ping to that phone, and it'll create something called static drift, where it'll make the GPS node bounce around, and it won't be accurate. And the guy told them that, but they just failed to mention that, and then it later came up in the emails. So like, you know, it's very easy for things to be twisted, or you know, people to be falsely accused, or I mean, getting a lawyer is just, you know, even though people say,
That's just it's the basic thing you should do. Like, it's literally the basic thing you should do. I don't know if it's because we all follow true crime so much, but I would never, ever talk to cops without a lawyer, ever. Innocent, guilty, whatever, doesn't matter. Always get a lawyer, please. You know?
yeah. So he said they skipped school. They're going to catch their bus and stuff. They were going to catch their bus and stuff, and they went on their bike. So basically, he was saying that he knew that they skipped school.
Yep. Which they didn't. They were at school.
I don't think so. So Jesse said he was watching them. Had Damien seen these before? Has he been watching them? Has he ever had sex with them before? No, he's been watching them. He's been watching them. You mentioned earlier that one of the meetings you went to with this cult thing, they had some pictures. Describe those pictures for me. They had some houses, trees, and stuff. So they had taken pictures of these boys, yes. Were they in the houses, or were they in the trees when they took those pictures? At the houses, did they take one picture of one boy? They were in a group. There was a group of pictures of all three of them. All three of them would generally be together, yes. How many pictures did you see? I just saw one. Okay, and it has these same three boys in it. Yes, you're certain of that. Yes. Now, did you say that the boys skipped school that day? These little boys did? Yes, they were going somewhere, and like I said, Damien and them left before I did. I told them that I would meet them there and stuff, and it was early in the morning, so they went ahead and met me. They went up on there, then I come up later on behind them. What time did you get there? 9 in the morning. So wait. So he's saying was Damien and all them in school, or did they skip school? Anybody know? Because that wouldn't even make sense if they were in school, that he met up with them.
I'm pretty sure Jason was in school, Damien was a dropout, and so was Jesse.
Okay. So this is why they're trying to show that he doesn't know what time. What time is it right now? Right now, yeah, you don't know what time it is. Do not wear a watch. It's at home. My dad woke me up, so your time period may not exactly be right in what you're saying. Right. It was like earlier in the day, but you know exactly what time, okay? Because I've gotten some real confusion with times you're telling me. But now this 9 o'clock in the evening call that you got, explain that to me. Well, after all this stuff happened that night that they done it, I went home about noon. They called me at 9 o'clock that night. Jason Baldwin had very high marks in school. Oh. I can see that. He definitely... I'm not allowed to apparently. Sorry, I keep reading chat. So after all this stuff happened that night, that they done it, I went home about noon. Then they called me at 9 o'clock. And what did they tell you on the phone? They asked me how come I left so early and stuff. I told them that I couldn't stay there and watch that stuff no more. I had something to do to get out of there. And you mentioned you heard some voice in the background. I heard some dingling. What else? I think you said he made the call from his house. He made the call from his house, and Damien was hollering in the background saying, "We done it. We done it. What we're going to do if somebody saw us? What are we going to do?" Okay, the knives. It was 1 knife, 2 knives. Was your knife there? Now, did somebody take it and use your knife? Do you have a knife? All right, I could totally be mixing this up with another case, but didn't they find a knife in like a pond or something like that?
They did, but that knife had been thrown into the pond a year before the murders even took place. So,
it was in somebody's house, in somebody's backyard. I feel like.
Yeah, it was behind. Jason Baldwin lived in a trailer park, and there was, I guess, a body of water back there. Now, I don't know if it was his mother or a family member that told the cops that he did have a knife, but that I guess the mother was upset about it and had made him, or she threw it into that little lake or pond or whatever the hell you want to call it, a year before the murders. So it was impossible that it had anything to do with the murders, because she clearly had said that she threw it out there herself a year before.
Eccles was on full disability, but was trying to do roofing or construction because his girlfriend was pregnant with his child. Oh, okay.
So Gary Gitchell, and they went back there knowing that the knife was there because the mother had told them so. But they kind of misled everybody, making it seem like this could have been the murder weapon when it absolutely could not have been.
Gotcha.
Like, had they know it was there, they pretend. In an interview, Gary Gitchell said he had a hunch it was thrown back there. Well, Jason's mother said, no, I told them it was back there, and that it had been done. I had thrown it there the summer before. So they tried to claim that was one of
them. Back to me now from the case file. I remember reading all this, and I'm like, all right, now I know what.
Right, yeah.
But I've covered so many cases that I'm like, maybe it was
they all start to like blur into each other.
I've got a feeling here you're not quite telling me everything. Now you know that we're recording everything, so this is very, very important to tell us the entire truth. If you were there the whole time, then tell us that you were there the whole time. Don't leave anything out. And then he said, I was there until they tied them up, and that's when I left. After they tied them up, I left. But you saw them cutting on the boys. I saw them cutting on them. And then they laid the knife down beside them, and I saw them tying them up, and that's when I left. Were the boys conscious, or were they were unconscious? After I left, they done more. They started screwing them again. So how would he know? I guess he's claiming they told him after they left, I guess. Jason stuck his in one of them's mouth, and Damien was screwing them. I'm not saying that. That's terrible. Basically, he was saying that Jason put his thing in the one guy's mouth, and that Damien was, if you can read it yourself, I'm not going to say. I'm not saying it. Something on the sand said he cut his toenails with it, and later venison. Ew, he cut his toenails with a pocket knife? Was it one of those pocket knives that had everything on it, though? You know what I mean? Maybe it was one of them,
like a Swiss Army knife?
Yeah. Maybe it had one of those little, like scissors.
It's got like a bottle opener on it, and like a toothpick.
Yeah, that's weird. Like, you can cut them with knives. That's a country boy thing? Oh, Matt's a country boy, so he would know. Sarah, have you ever seen anyone? That's from the country, right? You're from Arkansas. Have you ever seen anyone cut their toenails with a knife? That's what doctor.
Thanks a lot. No, I
Sorry.
haven't.
Sarah's like, what are you trying to say? Oh no.
Well, not the one they showed him on the stand.
Sarah,
Well,
you're from Arkansas?
Sorry, Sarah.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
I didn't know that. Sorry, no, I'm not trying to like dox anybody.
I promise.
Yeah.
I won't say anything else.
And West Memphis is god awful too.
Really? So
Yes.
do you know a lot about this case? Because like you're from there? Not from
Yeah,
that
that's
town,
that's
but
why I told Kate that I wanted to talk about it.
I see. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big deal in Arkansas, I would imagine.
Oh yeah, especially
Mhm.
after they did their Alford plea.
Yes. Yeah. So what's the? So there's still a lot of people that think they're guilty, obviously. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, it's kind of 50-50. Like you'll go through a period of you hear people like, oh, they're guilty, and then you'll go through a period of they're not.
Right.
But
You think
Yeah.
it's Terry Hobbs too, right? Oh.
yeah,
Oh, so he's the one, right? That pretty much that's the one that most people think.
yeah.
I mean, like I know for a while it was Byers, but
I think Byers is just crazy.
yeah,
And I
I
think
think
that's what
Yeah,
makes
Myers
him.
is definitely
yeah,
a little
he's just a way out there that it's like, okay, there's something wrong with this guy. So that's what people thought initially, like, oh, if anybody, it was him. You know what I mean? Plus,
Right.
he's so big and tall, like he could easily control 3 little boys. You know what I mean? Like,
I think
Well,
it's all
and
like
have you
the
seen the
religious.
documentary that has, with him on it a lot?
yes, where they make him look like almost like the devil.
Yeah, but you know where he took that? He's like, I'm going to take this polygraph, and
Yes. But he did pass the polygraph, did he not?
yeah, he passed it.
Oh yeah, he did. He passed it. So, and Terry Hobbs has never been polygraphed. Terry Hobbs has never been interviewed properly, which
No,
is
he's,
odd, okay,
yeah.
to say the least. I mean, he's never gone through an interrogation at all. Like, what the hell? These should have been the first people interrogated, not some random kid because you guys had him on some kind of weirdo checklist of like town weirdos that if something happens, oh yeah, it was Damien that did it. How about properly interrogate and investigate the parent first? For fuck's sake.
Exactly. Can I just
Like,
ask, with the Alfred plea, does that mean that there's basically, like, how are they going to get to the bottom of what happened? Like, because
so
they
they
didn't
really
do a
don't have
trial.
to. They really don't have to because it's kind of
Yeah.
like a case closed situation, right?
Yeah,
So
basically saying like you're guilty with maintaining your innocence.
right.
So, like,
But
And I
like
think that's disappointing. I think that's wrong, but
it makes no sense, to be honest, because like how does that make sense? Like, yeah, we're gonna plead to this. We're guilty, but we're not guilty. Like, what is it? You know? And then that also closes the case. So the authorities don't have to continue looking for the real murderers. I mean, it's just a bizarre plea. I can't even believe that's a thing. It's weird.
so backwards. Like,
Yeah, it's very backwards. It makes no sense. But I
Byers
mean,
always like was weird to me. I think because like he's like, I know it's like the Bible Belt area, but that guy is like crazy
yeah.
religious.
Yeah.
Like always just spouting some religious shit like 24/7.
Oh yeah.
Like he's
Oh,
on
he's a
some,
weirdo.
like, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, when
he's
I
a
was
definite.
watching, I was like, he's always talking about the devil and
Mhm.
fire and flames.
Yeah. Yeah. And him and his Elvis voice. Have you guys heard him sing?
Wait, what?
Oh, you gotta come up with some footage of him singing. It is too much. He's almost like a cartoon character, honestly.
He is. He is.
Like of what you think, like a Bible Belt, like Southern, like I don't know. It's just a little much. He's a little too much that character. if you know what I mean. Yeah. But I think it was Damien that had said, like, in the second Paradise Lost movie, that's who they thought might have been the real killer. And then by the time, like, I guess they had made the third, or in West of Memphis, he said, well, basically, they were doing the same thing to buyers that was done to them. That because he seemed like the kind of guy that was weird and could do something like this, that he probably was the one that did. And that he had felt guilty for even thinking that because that's what was done to them, which I thought took a lot of, like, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a good amount of, like, self-reflection and, like, noticing your own prejudices, right? Because he said he felt bad about that. And I guess the two of them had become friends after, not friends, but they're on good terms. Him and Damien and Byers are cool with each other now, because basically they did to one another what was done to them. You know, like, this guy must have done it because he's a weirdo, and like that.
Do you think it saves face for the law enforcement, this Alford plea? Like, it's like they're embarrassed or want to hide something. I don't know. I'm just speculating here.
100%. I mean, I've never, like, come on, like, we all follow true crime. Like, have you seen the ends of which law enforcement will go to not ever admit they're wrong, or district attorneys, or, I mean, it's honestly insane, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I just
So it's
don't
not about
get
the
it.
truth so much as them saving face.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen it in so many cases. And it's honestly really disturbing to me that they would much rather send a guilty man to jail than admit they're wrong, which is so weird. I guess is that they don't want to be sued. They don't want to lose their career. I don't know what it is, but I don't know how you could sleep at night knowing that you sent the wrong person to jail. Like, a lot of wrong people to jail, you know?
It could be something simple like ego, someone's ego, and they want to get a name for themselves.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I just, I think that Alfred, I really think it's really disappointing, because how will they ever get to the bottom of what happened? And I'm sure the victims' families really want that piece.
There's a person walking around right now that has done this to 3 little boys. Like, that is fucking scary, you know?
Very scary.
You can't say by entering the Alford plea, it seems like the case is closed. I don't
It
know.
is. It is technically. They did. It's not open anymore, right? Like, I don't know.
I wonder if they're able to, like, go back and like, reopen if new evidence comes about. I would imagine they can.
I mean, I think you can't. I think it's much like how OJ couldn't be, let's say, he came right out and admitted it or whatever, which he practically has a million times, that it's like a double jeopardy thing. Like, I think that's how the Alford plea works, that it's like, technically this case is closed and there is no reopening it. Maybe it is different from being found completely not guilty. I could be wrong on that. But I think it's pretty much the same thing from what I understand. I mean, hell, I'm no lawyer, but yeah.
I would rather send a guilty person free than an innocent person to prison if I'm on a jury. I have to have solid evidence before I would convict someone. Yeah, same thing here. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like sending. I just like I feel like if I was a juror, I'd have a lot of like. Don't get me started. I would feel like so nervous that I was gonna send like an innocent person to jail. Like, it would be so much on me, like that I would have to go over everything a million times before I'd make it.
For sure. Especially you.
I get like crazy about this stuff.
Kate's like, I don't know. We're gonna have to stay here a little longer. Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine having people's lives in my hand like that. Like, it's a crazy responsibility. I've never been called up for jury duty. Have you guys?
No, never. Surprising.
No,
Weird
I
because,
never
like,
have.
I know some people that have been called up like 3-4 times, and I've never been called up once. It's weird.
I mean, I kind of have a confession to make, so don't judge me, y'all. But like, I purposely don't vote.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
get called
I
on a jury.
gotcha. Right,
Like,
right. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I've never felt like too compelled with either, like in an election where I was like, you know, like
Yeah.
I had, you know, like this or this person. I just kind of like feel like
You're like
they're
a
all
lot of
right.
people. A lot of people are like that. I mean, here in
So-
Ontario, we just had a provincial election and we had the lowest voter turnout in history because people are literally like, it does not matter who we vote for. They're all assholes.
Yeah, I'm
You
pretty
know?
sure if you don't vote, you like they don't call you for jury duty. Like,
Yeah,
I
I've heard that. But I don't know. I always vote. Even if I've even gone in and voted and said, I have no confidence in any of the
You're
above candidates.
probably should, but
you're right, Kate.
What?
I said you're right. That's how it is in the U.S. If you're not registered to vote, you wouldn't get called for jury duty.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
I've never registered to vote ever.
So you guys aren't registered at all? Like you've never voted?
No, I am registered to vote.
Oh,
I
no,
was
no.
just making.
Yeah. So, but what you mean is that if you're not registered to vote, then they wouldn't call you up. That's like the way they do it.
Yeah.
Yes, only
Oh.
registered voters would be called in for jury duty.
The great reason
Oh.
I'm not a registered
makes
voter,
sense.
and they call me every time they can for jury duty. They go by driver's license. I didn't know that. I've never got called, so I just
Okay, so maybe I'm wrong, but I really thought, unless it's like different for
I
states,
thought-
but I really thought that it was registered voters.
I
That
thought
would
so
make
too.
sense.
Like I honestly,
Sarah, that makes sense. Like that probably is the case in some states, right? Like that makes sense.
I mean, I think that's the way it is in my state because I think in my state it does say to register for vote. It like has on the voter registration that you have to fill out. I'm pretty sure it says something about by registering to vote you would be subject to jury duty.
I know I've seen
Oh.
it somewhere. Like I know, I've seen it somewhere that like they go hand in hand. So just, I mean, I would actually probably like getting called for jury duty because I'm a weirdo like that. Like I would probably enjoy being a juror.
I've always thought I would love it. Like I've always been like, I wish they would, you know.
Yeah.
But it never happens. So I don't know. Apparently, I was told I'm not allowed to be eligible because my brother-in-law is a police officer. So if it were to be in my jurisdiction, which is a very big jurisdiction, but he works in this one, that like if you have any family members or anything that are in law enforcement, that they wouldn't pick you anyway. That's what I was told anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of rules when it comes to
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of like things that would keep you out of it or whatever.
Yeah, Pecan, I bet the majority of cases are probably really boring too. I mean, even some of the most like interesting cases get super boring.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
even the Johnny Depp case, I was so bored when they did
So boring.
depositions. I was like,
Ugh.
like I don't even want to watch during the depositions.
The best case, probably most interesting, and like I thought they did a great. Like I was captivated the whole time. Besides OJ, of course, but was Jodi Arias's trial. I thought that was like
Never watched
super
that one.
interesting. Oh
that
my
was
god,
a good
it
trial.
was a good trial. Like it was
You
like
gotta watch that
really
if you
interesting.
haven't.
Yeah, you should watch that. That was probably the best
Actually,
trial.
that was actually the first trial I ever watched.
Right. It really got you sucked in, I bet, right? Because it was so good. Like
It got
they
me
did-
into it. it got
Yeah.
me into. I was always kind of into true crime, but watching that, it got me into it.
Yeah, definitely. They did a great job on that one. That one was like really, there was not a lot of boring parts in that one at all.
No,
And then Casey Anthony too. That was another one where you were like, whoa.
I watched that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was pretty crazy too. Yeah.
Casey Anthony. I watched some of the Casey Anthony ones.
Oh, even the Menendez trial. The Menendez trials was pretty good too. Like, you have to have some good dynamic lawyers to keep that shit interesting for that long, you know?
I was watching the Todd trial and I hate that guy. I had to stop watching because he's such a cocky piece
Which
of shit.
trial?
Anthony Todd, is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
POD.
No, I didn't watch
The
that.
guy killed his whole family.
Yes,
He
I know
was
which one you're talking
so stupid. He was like saying that he came home and that his wife killed the whole family. And
Yeah,
then
sure, buddy.
she stabbed herself and was like saying how she was going to cut an artery and he couldn't call for help because she hid all the phones.
Oh,
So,
yeah, okay.
He put his head out the window, right? He puts his head out the window, screams for help, and then she dies, and then he wraps him up all in blankets and leaves him on the bed
Yeah,
for like
okay.
3 weeks. So, like, what? You didn't have a phone for 3 weeks?
For 3 weeks. No, he clearly didn't, Kate. Come on.
Yeah.
Such a bunch of liars, these people. Just the fact that they can even lie like that is just, ugh. Or what about that guy recently? Oh my God, what was that guy's name? The guy that represented himself in Florida? Ronnie. I can't remember his last name, but he had killed his wife and his daughter by setting her on fire and tried to kill his son, but the son was the main witness in the crime because he lived. So anyways, basically his father was the one interrogating him because he was representing himself. What was that guy's name? I call him the Weekend because his hair was like the Weeknd's hair. Ronnie.
I have no idea. He lost me there.
They shouldn't allow
Ronnie
that.
O'Neill. You guys got to check him out. Ronnie O'Neill. Okay. Oh my gosh. Like him cross-examining his own like 9-year-old son. And the kid was
so
like,
wrong.
The kid had such bravery. He was like, did I try and kill you or whatever? And the kid was like, yep. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was insane. That just
They
happened
should have
not
a
long
law
ago.
against that. That's just so wrong.
Oh my
I
God.
remember that case. He
But
watched his father kill his mother, right?
Yes. And it was like the kid was so brave. And if that kid was adopted by the detective that worked on the case. So he lives now with that detective as his adopted family. But it was just that was a crazy one. He's like yelling
What's the name again? What's the name again, Jen?
Or you'll definitely see it. It's everywhere. Ronnie O'Neill.
Okay. Check it
Yeah,
out.
you got to watch that. I mean, this guy was animated. He thought he was so right. And like, it's like, dude, you're a murderer. What are you doing? Like, it was just crazy. Even the judge was just like, you could see the judge being like, not like shaking her head, like, oh my God, what is this? You know?
So, sorry, I was reading this polygraph test. So, he said there was deception indicated, but it doesn't specify where deception was indicated. But it says, in the post-test interview, the subject denied any involvement in this crime. After approximately 45 minutes, I asked the subject what he was afraid of. He replied, the electric chair. He then said that he liked the hospital in Little Rock. He said he had been treated there for manic depression. After a short period of time, the subject ceased to deny his involvement. admission through absence of denial. He said, "I will tell you all about it if you will let me talk to my mother." Detective Ridge brought his mother into his office to talk to him. After talking to his mom, Hagen denied being involved in the murders. After approximately 20 minutes, I asked, "You're never going to tell anyone about this but your doctor, are you?" And he replied, "No." I mean, I don't know. I don't see how that could be admission. I don't know. I'd have to hear the whole thing. Said denied being present when he denied being present when the victims were killed and denied having killed any of the victims. He also did not know who killed the 3 victims. I would love to know which ones were deceptive, though. I don't know how to read polygraph tests, but I would.
Well, they're inadmissible anyway, so
Yeah.
you know.
Every time I think of polygraphs now, I think of crazy T. Stauch making her own polygraph exam.
Oh my God.
Crazy lady.
That lady is literally the most insane. Like that. When is that trial coming up? Oh
Soon. I
my
don't know.
God. What
Have
a
a great night,
nutbar.
PK.
Like what she did, honestly, like just because I have a son that's is around Gannon's age. I don't know why, but that case really just like spoke to
Yeah.
like I got me
Maybe.
really emotional. Like they all do, but like that one was really bad for me. I cried over that one, which I don't usually. I mean,
T was like one of those people who gave all her answers through like tidbits of information because she just didn't shut the hell up. Like,
I mean, did you remember her arguing with people on Facebook and shit?
oh
Like,
yeah, she didn't shut up. She put all
she
her shit.
would not shut the hell up. Like, that woman is batshit, okay? Like, batshit crazy.
Hey, I'm gonna
Like,
hop down. I'll be in the chat.
All right.
who's that, Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't leave, Sarah.
Well, I gotta put my phone on the charger, so I'll be in the chat.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for coming up, Sarah. I love you.
Yeah, see, look at him there, Jason. He just looks like such a normal, and even when he talks, he's so soft spoken. And I mean, I just don't picture him committing murder. I don't know.
Either.
Yeah. Some people you can just tell. You look at Leticia and you're like, that bitch did it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's taking a while because she keeps getting what do you call it? Like,
Oh yeah, like do they keep filing motions and things that are like ridiculous? Like I don't know.
where are you, Mel? Mel hasn't talked the whole time. Come talk to us, Mel. Hold on.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good trial. You have to cover that one, Kate.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna cover it because I've been like waiting to cover it, but she keeps.
I know, it keeps getting postponed and postponed, and she doesn't even want to go to her own trial. It's like that shouldn't even be an option. Like what since when is that an option?
Oh,
No, I'm good. I don't want to go to my own trial.
I don't think she's crazy at all. Like I think
Absolutely
she just
not.
fakes it. Like,
No.
completely.
Well, I mean, she's crazy, but not in the way that crazy is like a reason, not a real crazy. Like,
She's
you
a
know what I mean?
bad egg. She's a
She's a
bad
bad
egg.
egg. She's a bad
Yeah.
egg.
But she definitely. I think she purposely attacked that cop.
That beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, that was transferring her to try and like make it seem like she was like to
But
like.
those people are so stupid because they think that when you look like you're crazy like that means you're not going to get punished for your crimes. That's not the way it works. You go to a mental facility until they're like, okay, they're fine now to stand for trial. It's not like you are never going to have to accept any responsibility ever because you're crazy. I think they get that like twisted in their minds, you know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Lori Vallow had the same thing, right? Like she was considered. I think Lori Vallow actually is crazy, like for real crazy, like in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways,
Well, I don't like. I guess. I feel like she knew what she was doing. I mean, it's hard to say. Like,
you know, it is
you obviously have to be pretty freaking crazy to
right,
think your kids are zombies. But like,
right. But that's the real question. Did she
but it
really
was
think
very
her kids
planned
were?
out. Like it
Did
was
she?
very planned out. The whole thing. Like,
Yeah, it totally seemed that way and everything, but for some reason, and I'm not saying she get away with anything because of this, but I do get the vibe that she really did believe her children were zombies and that she really was like some queen of the, you know, people that are going to survive the apocalypse kind of nonsense. I think she genuinely believed that in her mind.
yeah.
No excuse doesn't get her off the crimes because she tried to hide it. She, you know what I mean? She knew what she was doing enough to do all that, right? But I think that Leticia is like totally putting it on, and I think that Lori Vallow actually is a bit batshit crazy.
What do
You
you
know what I
think?
mean?
Do you think Lori's crazy, or do you think she's
Taking it.
Mel's probably putting on. You putting on a movie for your kids to there she is.
No, I'm here. I think she's crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
here's
I
my
think she's
thing.
crazy.
Here's my thing. All right, I get that you have to be crazy to think that your kids are zombies, right? But the planning of all the killings of everybody, like her and her brother is definitely part of it. But they went after the nephew. They tried to kill him by like a drive-by. Chad's wife. You had to be somewhat sound of mind to plan that shit out, in my opinion.
Agreed. But like I feel like maybe Chad and Alex were less crazy than her in that they might not have 100% believed all that bullshit, but I think she actually did. I don't know what it is. Something about her crazy eyes and whatever makes me think that she did truly believe that her kids were zombies and that this guy was a zombie and that guy was a zombie because Chad told her so or whatever. But there, like, and that's not to exonerate. Like, I'm not saying that this exonerates her in any way because she did hide the crimes and all that. But I think she truly believed those things, and Chad and Alex didn't. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. I think she really believed that her kids were zombies. I mean,
Yeah, I think she did. I think she did really believe that, and that Chad didn't. And yeah, that's
glad to say that anyone that kills their child is a couple tacos short of a combo who in their
well,
right
yeah,
mind.
of course, yeah, of course. Like, yeah, no, but like, I mean, crazy in the sense where you're delusional, like psychosis, delusional kind of
Yeah.
thing, which I think she is or was.
I agree. I think she looks crazy, but
Oh yeah, especially when she was wearing that crazy makeup. When
Yeah.
she had her cheeks all like red. Did you remember that? Like the first couple times she was in court, I was like, oh my God,
You know the
this
story behind
woman.
that?
No,
So
what's the story?
there was this chick in jail
Uh-huh.
who taught her how to do her makeup in jail, and they use these color pencils.
Uh-huh.
Like you know those really bright it's only a certain brand of color pencils you can use. I want to say like what's the in the 90s that
Like Oh, like
highlighter decorating stuff. It's like I thought it was that or like FAO or something like that. I don't know, but it's this like only a certain brand of color pencils you can use, and you melt them down and you put it on your face. Well, she only had this bright pink pencil.
Oh my gosh, really?
So like you can tell like she has this bright pink lipstick on and her hair's crimped.
Yeah, it looked crazy. She reminded me of like, I don't know if anybody watches like Rob Zombie horror movies. I love horror movies, but she kind of reminded me of a baby in House of a Thousand Corpses or The Devil's Rejects.
Hold on,
I don't know if you guys have ever seen. It's like a horror. Like if you look at that character, that's what she reminded me of. Like with the weird man, I was like, "Whoa, nuts!" Oh, where is it? This is it. This is what she reminds me of. I mean, it's a little over the top, I know, but yeah, her face reminded me of that with the curly blonde hair and the like, yeah.
I guess she kind of looks like Sherry Moon too. I can see.
She does kind of look like Sherry Moon, right? Okay, I'm not 100% wrong on that, right?
No.
Why are you thinking that? Why are you thinking that? Get away.
Michael Carson was the jailhouse snitch. Right. Hold on. Oh wait, this is what I wanted to look at. They have a like section where they talk about the different people who
snitched.
No, who could have been the killers. All right, so the man at the Bojangles restaurant, the Red Herring, at 8:40 p.m. on May 5th.
Oh, they're calling him the Red Herring? Really?
They said the Red Herring in.
Okay.
At 8:40 p.m. on May 5th, the West Memphis Police Department received a call that a bleeding black man had entered the Bojangles restaurant located near where the 3 bodies were eventually discovered. About 30 minutes earlier and gone into the women's restroom. Officer Regina Meek arrives on the scene at 8:50 and questioned Marty King, the restaurant's manager, through the drive-thru window. King reported that the man with muddy feet wearing muddy feet too. I mean, I feel like this is the most like
muddy feet, no shoes, Kate, no shoes.
I feel like if there's anyone that it could be, it would be like this dude.
Where did his shoes go? Like the whole thing. I don't get it.
If you're in the woods throwing kids in a ditch and all that money like that.
Yeah, right? He lost his shoes. And he was apparently flushing things down the toilet.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why he was in the woman's bathroom?
Yes. I can't remember what they said he flushed down there, but he was flushing things down that toilet. I mean, just bizarre. And I mean, after these kids are found the next day, wouldn't that be the first place they should have gone back to get evidence from? Like, what are the chances?
Yeah, like to go and pull it out of the toilet. Yeah, you would think.
Yeah,
I mean, that would be in my investigation. This would be the this
first
would
thing.
Be it. Like I would be at the,
Yeah, me too.
Sarah said there was feces all over the floor.
There was. Yeah, Sarah's right.
On the floor?
Yeah. This person went in there and like created a scene, man. Like went in there. Sorry, it's not funny, but like blood all over the walls, feces on the floor, came in there with no shoes on, flushing things down the toilet. Like, who is this person? They should have at least tracked them down to find out like what's up. No?
I mean that would be like, was Amber Heard there? Amber Turd. It's Amber Turd.
Oh my God.
He seemed mentally disoriented and left the restaurant a few minutes before the officers arrived. When employees entered the woman's restroom, they discovered blood smeared on the wall. The officer leaves the premises at 9 o'clock without ever setting foot inside the restaurant. I mean, if you think about it, though, the restaurant owner could have just like couldn't have left it that way.
The restaurant owner was like, first of all, this is before the kids are even like discovered, right?
Yeah, or even missing, right? Or no,
they're considered missing at the time, but like I'm sure not everybody knew that, right? But yeah, of course, the first thing that the manager's going to do while seeing that the cops didn't give a fuck, right, is sorry, I'm swearing. I'm so sorry. I will not do that anymore. That the first thing they would do is clean up their restaurant, right? So you can't blame the people that work there.
Yeah.
But they did eventually go back, like I said, and they did take pieces of the wall and the flooring or something like that, but they never actually like put it in. They never actually investigated that at all. I think they just took that evidence, but they didn't do anything with it. They didn't compare.
They lost the scrapings.
That's right. They lost it. Yeah. That's right. Okay, so they lost the stuff.
I mean, honestly, if I were a cop, that would have been my number one suspect.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for Officer Regina that night. Like, she literally was the only one out, right? And this was probably like the craziest day of her life. You know what I mean? You got the buyers calling in, you've got Pam calling, you've got the Moores calling, then there's this thing at the Bojangles. I mean, for one cop in a small town, I mean, that's a lot, right? Like, she must have been like overwhelmed, but yeah, she didn't even go inside and look at it. There's no pictures of it. There's no nothing. And they never went and tried to find that person at all. I mean, it's just, come on, they're he's at least worth a look at,
She said they recovered a hair from an African-American man, but since...
Yes, he was African-American. Yeah.
Where did they recover the hair from, though? The kids? Or the shoelaces?
Oh, no. That I don't know. No, I don't know about that. The only hair I know about on the bodies and stuff were went back to Jacoby and to Terry Hobbs. But I'm not sure what hair they're talking about here. What did they mean at Bojangles or? I don't know.
Bojangles. Okay, so
yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
And at least Matt says hi.
Hey.
He's in the chat.
Hi.
They're serial buddies. We're all serious.
Can we see the chat?
Serial romance.
Yes.
You can
see it. It should be on the all right. So on the side it'll say comments, banners, brand, and private chat. You see it?
I
see a thing that says chat.
I went into the chat before and I got kicked out, or it kicked me out, or I don't know.
Okay, sorry. I was in private chat. I'm like, there's nothing in this chat. And then I went over to comments and now I see. Okay. Yeah, sorry, never mind me.
They lost the stuff. I mean, but that would make a lot of sense why they got off stuff. They have all the stuff and they lost it. That's plenty of stuff they could,
Yeah, for sure.
So it says the detective Byrne Ridge and Sergeant Mike Allen returned to Bojangles to collect blood scrapings from the restroom wall. Unfortunately, the scrapings were never sent to a crime lab to be analyzed. They were never sent to a crime. That's insane.
That's what I mean. They went back. That's what I'm saying. They went back. They did get the scrapings and did nothing with them.
No additional interviews were ever conducted.
It's insane. They had tunnel vision within 24 hours of who they thought it was, and it was just literally because Damien Eccles was a weirdo. That was it. That's as far as they got. Because they automatically thought that it looked ritualistic and it was the whole satanic panic thing all over again, and they went right to that. Have you seen that guy in all the documentaries, Jerry Driver? Driver, I think is his name. He was considered the occult specialist in their town, and like basically he got his like occult specialist degree or diploma out of like a Cracker Jack box. And they had gone to him originally, and because they already had it in their head that this looked like a ritualistic sort of thing, they went to him because he's the expert, and he was like, oh, I know of one person that this could be, Damien Eccles. And that's how that started, because they completely looked at it like it was a ritualistic killing from the start, which didn't make sense to me, because when you look at those bodies, to me, that didn't scream ritual. That screamed personal. That screamed, of course, the person is an absolute weirdo, but I didn't see anything that would make me think this is satanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
if the go ahead, Jen Lou, come up. I heard you like this case.
Jen Lou, oh no, we love Jen Lou. She's so smart and funny.
I crack up every time I see her avatar.
I know, she's so funny and smart.
Hey, girl. There you are.
I'm muted. Okay.
Hi, Jen. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to correct you just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
On Jerry Driver and that whole thing. Okay, so if you go through the case file, okay, and you look at it, initially, Detective Ridge authored a case summary in the very earliest days of the investigation. And in that case summary, he didn't even believe that that was the actual crime scene. He believed that it was a dump site. And the reason he cited that is because of the lack of blood, and, you know, it just didn't look like a crime scene to him. And Gitchell wasn't, okay, Gitchell didn't come around to it being a satanic cult, any kind of killing initially. They had to actually, it took a while for Gitchell to come around to that idea.
How long did it take them? Because like I'm obviously not understanding it correctly, but I thought that they came to that conclusion within a couple of days. So did it take longer than a couple of days for them to come to that conclusion?
Well, so it's difficult. I can't tell you exactly when they came to that conclusion, because there were multiple people working on the case. Inspector Gitchell was the one that was in charge of it. Yes. So what happened was Steve Jones is somewhere, and he's the one that spotted the shoe floating.
Yes.
He's the one that called it in, and he is underneath Jerry Driver as a juvenile probation officer.
Right. Okay.
And I can't find where this was actually said by Steve Jones, but it's something that's been said so many times. It's said that Steve Jones said it looked out at the crime scene. It looks like Damien Eccles finally killed someone.
Right.
But okay. So what happened is then Steve Jones and
so Steve was the one that was following Damien Eccles for a while. Sorry to interrupt. But.
No, Jerry Driver.
Jerry Driver was.
Oh, Jerry
Driver had an obsession with that boy.
But Jerry Driver and Steve Jones knew Damien both, but Steve Jones actually knew Jason Baldwin. Jason Baldwin had been on probation for shoplifting, and he knew
Okay.
Yeah, and he knew Steve Jones. So Steve Jones actually goes to the West Memphis Police Department May 6th or 7th, and he is talking to another detective on the case. And it is that detective, who's actually not a detective. He was actually with the drug task force, but he was part of the investigation. So they go out to Damien Eccles' trailer. That was the 7th, and they interview him. His parent, he's 18, so they don't need permission or anything. And that's when they take those pictures. That's where those pictures of Damien Eccles, the Polaroids, come from.
Yeah.
All right. So then, Gitchell continued to interview other people. In fact, Gitchell was more invested in other potential suspects, like the people you would be checking, the sex offenders, etc. Right, those kind of people.
Right.
And it was really more Mike Allen, Brian Ridge, and Shane Griffin were the ones that kept continuously going out to
Damien.
they went out to Damien, and they also went out to Jason's house because Damien was there, and they were talking to Damien, Jason, and Dominique, and Jason's mom pulls up and she gets him, tells him, get the hell out of here.
Fuck off. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna, be harassing my kids.
Right.
But so I don't know how I think Gitchell became convinced.
I was gonna say, how did they convince Gitchell then? I mean,
I think it was out of desperation, to be quite honest with you.
Probably, right? Because people were so afraid. And so, but you know what? At the same time, it's like if Gitchell was on the right track with the fact that Terry was never fully investigated. They never really talked to Jacoby, at the beginning. I mean, everybody knows that you have to rule out the immediate family first, So I'm just wondering what it could have been that and I thought maybe Gitchell was just part of the whole thing from the beginning, but now what you're telling me is he actually was kind of doing the correct thing at first. I wonder what it was that convinced him. I guess it could have been desperation, right? But how are you desperate though before you've even questioned a Terry Hobbs? Or you know what I mean? Like
you have to. Okay, yeah, I know, I totally get it. But so when you go, if you look at the case file, none of the parents really, aside from John Mark Byers, was actually thoroughly interviewed. No other parents have like a recorded statement or anything like that.
That's right. Yep.
And with Terry, this is something that people don't actually realize and it's not their fault. And I never say anything negative about the documentaries. That's what got people interested, and that's what started the ball rolling on getting justice. So I'll never say anything negative about them.
They're not perfect. They're not perfect.
No.
By any means, but without them, like, we all wouldn't be here right now. Right.
Correct.
So
correct.
I see where you're going with this, but go on. Yeah.
So then what had to happen? So Terry left for a while. He wasn't always there, and if I'm not mistaken, I feel like the right date. I can't tell you. I mean, I'm sure I'm close. May 19th is the day I believe that John Mark Byers sat down for his interview with the police. But at that point, Terry Hobbs was no longer in West Memphis. He had left Pam.
So was this because Pam was sleeping with somebody else or something? Was it something about that or no?
I think Pam and Terry had a contentious relationship always.
Because I've heard that that was one. Like I've heard that he had left also, but I heard that he even found out before, which kind of gives him even more motive. Before the murder, that Pam was cheating on him with a Mexican fellow.
Well, he definitely said that in his deposition.
He did say that with the one with the Dixie chicks, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So yeah, all right, okay.
That was part of the dysfunction in their marriage, but I think their marriage was dysfunctional anyway, and I think that Pam was, as understandably, just completely undone by what happened with her son, what happened to her son. And
he wanted her to get over it, apparently.
I don't think it was Terry. I don't know who it was.
Do you have any? Would you have a guess? Like
I do, but I never talk about it. I've never talked about it.
So you don't want to tell us who you think?
I don't want to say who I think and I'll tell you why. It's a very good reason. I feel like if I were to point the finger at anybody, it would be the same as what happened to Damien, Jason, and Jesse.
I agree too, unless it is for a good reason.
There is
but I think
right. So let me
me,
ask you. Don't
I think
it was Damien, Jesse, or Jason?
No.
Okay.
No. I think I agree with you for the most part, and I really found that very it made a lot of sense, and it was kind of touching when Damien had said that about how they thought it was Byers, right? And that basically they were doing the same thing to him as had been done to them, right? By saying, yeah, it was him that did it. But in the case of Terry Hobbs, I mean, I think that there's some real evidence here, and I don't think that that's witch hunting at all. When you
Jem accidentally got kicked off.
She's right. She's not wrong. Here's the thing, though.
No, I think they have like from what I've read, evidence that could point in his direction for sure.
Well, there is compelling. Listen, there is compelling evidence. Okay, but compelling evidence for him to be looked at, not compelling enough evidence for me to say I think that he did it, because
the hair on the shoelace that could it could be explained away by one of the kids being over there, or
okay. Well, yeah, I suppose. I mean, but here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter
that's
is
his theory.
Right. But what's interesting about that hair is where it was found, right inside of the knot of the shoelace that was used to bind one of the victims, I believe Michael Moore, but it wasn't Michael Moore's shoe. Okay, yeah, it was his shoelace. But this is what's interesting. So if you look at the case file, do you have the website?
I was reading it on Callahan.
That's where you should be. Okay. And if there's
it's so much that I've gotten
yes.
a little bit in, but not that much.
It's very hard, Kate. It's very. I mean, I've been looking at this case since 2001.
I've read a lot, and I feel like I barely touched it.
I've read everything, and I feel like I still barely touched it. And I've read everything multiple times. Like, I've been looking at this case for like 20 years.
But like, I like deep diving and like really getting into details, and I thought I was getting somewhere, and I'm like, Jesus, this is like so much stuff. Like, if you go and look at like the forensics, right? They and the things that were cataloged, and it's the way that it is difficult, but you can do it. You can match it up. So they did that. Hair is interesting for a number of reasons. One, because it was found inside of the knot. Okay. But two, what's more interesting is what wasn't found. So Terry Hobbs had longish for a guy hair, right? But Melissa had incredibly long hair. Pam had the best Farrah Fawcett in all of West Memphis. She had great hair, but it was long. Dana Moore, which is which is Michael's mom, she had red hair, right? You couldn't miss that. John Mark Byers had long hair. So what's interesting about that hair is not only where it was found, but other hairs that you would expect if it were a secondary transfer are absent from the clothing and from the bindings. So that to me is interesting and is more compelling. The problem with that specific hair is that it was a mitochondrial DNA, so it's not an excluded. It's not the same. It can't exclude a lot of the population, right? Because it's not like your specific DNA. So it's more like a broad DNA.
Right. Yeah, because it didn't have a root. So it's well, it did, but they can't. It's just that it can't be specific. It's not. They cannot narrow it down to a specific person.
It's not enough.
It's not enough. So, but this is what I always find interesting, because people who believe that they're guilty will point and say, when it to the evidence, well, it all washed away. Well, no, it didn't all wash away. In order for you to believe that Damien, Jason, and Jesse committed this crime, right? Taking away, just for looking at the forensic, you would have to believe that something about that ditch is unique and special in that it only washes away direct evidence and only leaves secondary and tertiary transfer evidence. And water does not work like that. Water doesn't pick and choose to leave one fiber and not leave another, or leave one hair and not leave another.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that there was no hairs from the mothers or anybody else has always been very suspect to me.
Yes, I agree. And you know, on top of all that, I mean, like, I don't want to keep bringing up that these were young guys, but these were young guys. You're telling me that none of their clothing or like nothing. They did have some carpet fibers. They had some carpet fiber evidence that they said matched something or other from Damien's trailer, but everybody knows.
But it wasn't carpet fiber. It was clothing fiber, but it wasn't any. It wasn't clothing that actually belonged to Damien.
Exactly. So okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was carpet fiber, but anyways, clothing fiber, which is
so it was a piece of clothing from his trailer, but not his clothing.
Correct.
Yeah, but also even if it was, like, okay, that's not a good it's not good enough evidence. Fiber evidence is at this point almost junk science, right? Even though in the 70s, 60s, 70s they used to use that and it would work as far as you know, being able to place somebody here or there, but nowadays we don't even really recognize it as any type of real evidence, fiber evidence, that is. I mean, there was nothing. Like, so these guys did this, went home, no bloody clothes wherever, like nothing at all. Like, come on.
And I mean, he had like, it seems like, you know, Pam was at work.
Oh yeah, and he never even called Pam. He never even called her.
He didn't even call her. He didn't tell her until he picked her up from work that he.
And he didn't even tell her then. Apparently, from what she says, he went straight to the payphone without telling her anything. I mean, and the kid was missing for 4 hours previous. I mean, like, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me. Can you imagine if your child, your husband was like, oh no, I'm just gonna let Jeanette, you know, finish her shift before I tell her that her son's missing.
That would never happen.
You know what I mean? That would never happen. Exactly.
Dave would call me like immediately and be panicking himself, like, you know, Aunt's not home, like freaking out. There's
like
no way.
Freaking out, like really freaking out.
No way he would wait all that time and not even tell me after he picked me up, which is odd. That's very odd, to be honest. I mean, like, especially an 8-year-old.
Well, and apparently Amanda, the younger sister, was the one who actually said it to her mom. Terry didn't say anything. Amanda said, yeah, Bubba is missing. So
yeah, she said we can't find Bubba. Here's the thing. That
you waited till they got home? Like
well, okay, so what happened was Pam got off of work at 9:00. The story goes, and let me just say the story. So the story goes that they came, and she came out to the car with 2 pieces of candy, one for Amanda, one for Stevie. As she's exiting the Catfish Island restaurant, Terry Hobbs is entering, and he makes a beeline for the payphone, keeping him. Now, Terry and Pam did not have a landline at their home at the time. And then when Pam gets out to the car, Amanda says, according to Pam, that Mama, we can't find Bubba. And this was at 9 o'clock. So yeah.
Like, could you imagine that? Could you?
And
No,
he
could you
claimed
I
he
would
was
live it.
hanging out with the Jacoby guy, right? Like throughout the day.
Yes, and that was an on and off thing throughout the evening. Terry claims he was with him the whole time. Jacoby says he was not, and actually didn't even realize, apparently, that he was Hobbs's main alibi.
Oh, didn't?
Yeah, didn't realize.
Didn't they say they called that he saw them at 6 o'clock, or Terry called them around 6 o'clock to come to the house, or I could be totally...
There are some neighbors on the street that had said they were on their way to church, and that they had definitely seen Terry hollering at the boys, so they were coming toward him
around 6, right?
around 6:30, because that's when they'd go to church. And they saw Terry hollering to the boys. They were down the street, and that the boys were coming back towards him. And this was at about 6:30 to 6:45. So Terry claims he hadn't seen the boys since ever, really, because I guess was still at work,
right,
before Pam had let him out to play.
Right.
So he wouldn't have saw Stevie or any of the boys at all that day.
No.
But that's not what some of the neighbors say. They say they definitely saw him talking to them.
So here's where that's Jamie Clark Ballard deposition.
Yes.
And her deposition is problematic. Not because if she gets, there's some other parts of that statement that are incorrect. So she says that Ryan Clark walked her home from school that day, or she walked home with Ryan Clark that day, which would have been Christopher's older brother, but that's impossible because John Mark Byers picked Ryan up because he had a court meeting. He had to be at court. So when you're, I'm not saying what she's saying isn't true. The problem is that if it were to go to court, right?
Oh yeah, if she's not right, if she's not right about about how she got home, then she could very well not be right about this.
Right.
And that would make her an unreliable witness.
Right.
Yeah.
It could have been another day.
Absolutely. But more importantly than all of this is, where is the fucking evidence that Damien and Jason and Jesse were all seen together at around the time that this happened, all in
they weren't. They don't have anybody to put them together. And
nobody. As a matter of fact, they have people that said they were on the phone with them. You know what I mean? And it just, there's nothing putting them at that. I mean, give me a little bit of evidence here. I mean, to convict these guys on it's not even circumstantial evidence. To me, in my opinion, the only evidence they had was Jesse's confession, which was obviously coerced. He wouldn't repeat again in a court of law, even to save his own butt, So, I mean, and to say that, like you were saying, Jen, to say that the water washed away all the proof of what they had done. Right. I mean, what a bunch of crap. Okay.
That was ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous. Okay. You're talking about young guys here. They did this perfectly. And they weren't all they were friends, but they weren't best friends to the point of they sat around planning things together. I know Jason and Damien were close, but you know what I mean? There was
Damien didn't like Jesse, and to be truthful,
and didn't like exactly.
Neither did Jason, really.
I remember hearing that too, that they didn't really like Jesse like that.
No, they didn't.
Real quick, Gladys accidentally timed you out in case You didn't see it in chat. I'm just letting you know.
What happened? What happened?
Gladys accidentally timed green screen out. I do it all the time when I'm modding.
Oh no.
Modding, when you accidentally hit a button and,
Oh, it happens all the time, right?
Said the knot things get me. There was three different knots, or
Yeah.
were they special kinds of knots, or just like regular?
I mean,
Now, I don't know if there was 3 different kinds. I'd like to see where it says that there were absolutely 3 different kinds.
there were 2 for sure, I know.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I thought there was. I thought there was 2 for sure, but 3, I don't know about that. I mean, I haven't read anything that said there was 3 distinctive knots.
Were they
Nice.
like
One was a square knot and one was a hitch knot, I think.
Yes,
is what it was.
yes, that's what I remember. Yeah.
So they weren't just like they tied and regular.
No, these were not. And think about it, as teenagers, like these guys were, like, would they be able to tie these type of knots? I mean, I highly doubt
If
it.
they had been in like Boy Scouts, they would have been. But here's the problem.
But they weren't.
What were the boys tied for to begin with? So the way that they were tied, their left wrist to left ankle, right wrist to right ankle, but their hands were in front of them.
Easier to transport.
Right. It wasn't to immobilize them. Now, could they have
carry them from one place?
I think it was easier to carry them from one spot to another.
That's what
it was done for.
It was not to immobilize them.
And the person that would have thought of that would be somebody who has done that with animals before, because that's the way you do it with animals.
Well, wait a minute. More to the point is, why would if the crime occurred at that creek, why do they need to carry them anywhere?
They wouldn't.
So that's the point. If the reason that they were bound was to immobilize them, right, which is really the main reason you would do that,
right?
That what would they need to be immobilized for?
Right.
And that's the other thing. So when you look at the autopsy reports, and let me just be very clear about this. They're very difficult to read because they're not done very well, and that's just
done
true.
Terribly.
There are some wounds that are measured. There are some wounds that are not. But the state's assertion, I should say, has always been that the knife was used. Okay, the boys don't have any stab wounds on them. Read the autopsy report.
None.
Just cuts.
Superficial.
They had like cuts though, right?
Right. Well, yeah, but what would be the purpose of you bringing a knife if you're not going to use the knife?
That's right.
None of the wounds go past they're not puncture wounds. They don't go, there's nothing internally.
They don't go past the dermis. They're all superficial wounds.
Right.
And so, I mean, I think that they were drowned. I mean, I could be wrong.
Is there like a official cause of death?
Let's see.
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but a couple were definitely drowned, from what I understand.
Well, okay. Steve and
or blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma.
The cause of death is for Christopher is drowning with blood loss, not complete exsanguination. If I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, it's in a minute since I've.
Said 2 of the boys drowned and the other bled out.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't actually, they didn't actually drown. Was there liquid found in their lungs? Yes. However,
Can you tell if it was before post-mortem or
they didn't test the liquid against the creek water. So
he didn't do a lot of things.
But the truth of the matter is, if you look at the autopsy reports, the head wounds to all 3 of the boys would have caused death. And I think that whatever body of water the boys were placed in, they were they took a last breath
Yes.
under the water, but they didn't actually.
So
drown.
yeah, I think the same thing. I think technically it was drowning in the sense that that was
So
the
maybe they
last,
like were all knocked unconscious.
but there was
and
blunt
then-
force trauma as well, right?
I mean, that would just make more sense to me that something happened elsewhere, and
yeah,
then
and something happened, and
like
it was
maybe
it was a,
kids witnessed something, and then they all got
or they pissed somebody off really bad, right? You know, it's got to be one of the two, and like either piss somebody off really bad, or they saw something they weren't supposed to see, enough to the point where that person would be in like a disgusting enough person to do this,
So
to
I
children.
believe I did hear a theory that someone was saying that maybe it would be possible, like I forget where I read this, but that you know how there was talk that something could have happened between Terry and the daughter.
Yeah,
That like, what if they had
walked in on that.
And then he was afraid that they were gonna tell on him to any of their parents. You know what I mean?
Listen, you've heard 8-year-olds before, right? Sometimes when they start to realize, like, hey,
my kid will tell anybody anything.
that's exactly what I was just gonna
like-
say. When my kid can't even keep a secret, if I like accidentally like get a dent in the car, he'll tell my hubby. You know what I mean? I'll be like, can we keep this to ourselves? And he'll be like, yeah, mom. And then as soon as hubby comes home, guess what mom did? You know what I mean?
My son's the same way. Mom's
Right?
Mom's spent a bunch of money at
Oh,
Target.
he's such a little snitch, this kid.
I actually think it's something much simpler than that. That's what I do. What I'll say is this. If you look at, again, the autopsy reports, Steve has a green vegetable-like material in his stomach contents. Okay. Pam, one of the elements that Pam was making for dinner that night was green beans. Okay.
Really?
Yeah. This is what I think happened. I think that the boys were I think not Michael so much. He got roped in at the last minute, but I think that Chris and Steve were intending to run away that night. And I think they all met in the neighborhood where Christopher and Michael lived, because they were neighbors. Yeah. And then their last stop was to go over to the other side and be at Stevie's house. And I think they were at Stevie's house and he ate green beans.
Mm-hmm.
And then then whatever happened.
If he had green beans in his stomach, then that means he would have had to digest it not that long ago. Like that's I was going to compare it to another drink, but I'm going to avoid comparing it to that.
Sorry, what were you? No, compare it. What were you going to say, Kate?
No, it's better, like, for my safety.
Oh, okay, honey. We don't want that. We do not want you to be unsafe. No, we want to say Kate to say
I'll
safe.
explain it to you later. I just, I don't want to say
All right, no worries. No.
Yeah, I'm gonna,
safe is safe.
But yeah, if there's food in the stomach, I've thoroughly looked into the digesting of food and how long it takes and whatever. And if you have food in your stomach, it means you ate like pretty.
And he's the only one.
A lot of, again, though, people do have different systems. One person's digestion is not necessarily another person's digestion. Just to put that out there, because that's actually really true.
Maybe they didn't have to do with the sister. Maybe they were a witness to, like.
Yeah, but you would think that. So what she's saying nowadays, even to this day, I mean, maybe not to this day, but up until about 7 years ago, I would say, she wasn't. She didn't admit to that she was being molested or anything like that. She said, if that happened to me, I've blocked it out. Like, I don't know, so we could only go by what she says in that case,
Yeah.
So Or was that there was no evidence of like
No.
essay or anything?
Yeah,
No.
there was no. The only thing was that the one was the penis, being missing, and that's hardly essay. I mean, snapping turtles. Have you ever put something dangling in water where
Look,
where
I
there's
have a pet
snapping turtles?
turtle, and this thing will eat anything that's dangling in water.
Exactly, and
My
that's
finger
that
included.
flesh is soft, dangling. It would be the first thing that any type of fish, turtle, or whatever would go after.
If I put my finger in the water, he's right there. Coming to eat my finger.
100%, 100%. I've seen it a million times. My son loves fishing and all. I hate all that shit. But what I have noticed in all this time of it is that turtles, like certain types of fish, whatever, will just go for whatever is easy, dangling, and you know what I mean? Like that. That's hardly.
It's gonna sound gruesome, but a young child like that, it would almost be like worm-like.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. Yeah. I know what you're trying to say. That's what I mean. So the prosecutions or anybody's, like, it's so negligent to say that there was SA involved here because of that. There wasn't. You know what I mean? Jesse apparently said that Jason was screwing a boy, and that didn't happen. There was no evidence of that.
Oh, by the way, guys, Jen Lou's YouTube channel is in the comments. Make sure you go subscribe.
Oh, thank you.
I'm already subbed to Jen.
We gotta do some collabs, Jen Lou.
Yeah, we do.
Collabs.
That was sweet. You don't have to do that. That was sweet of you. There was a lot of stuff that was said that doesn't match with the physical evidence, and that's why I come back to, I don't care if we're going to talk about Jesse's confession, we have to be honest about it. Jesse did confess multiple times, okay? And that is true. Can't get away from
true.
But
on like different occasions, he confessed.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
he
His confession didn't even. I mean, I get that he has a low IQ, but to say that it happened at noon and the kids skipped school, like,
right?
Yeah, no. The confessions were, in my opinion, it's not even relevant to talk about them because we're talking about a low IQ guy. My son has a learning disability. Okay, he's only 12, but I could just imagine him in that position, and he would probably just agree with whatever,
especially after you've been sitting for like 12
yeah,
hours.
like
You
know what I mean? He would think that if he just told them whatever they wanted to hear, he'd be back out to his mom in the next hour, like, you really have to put your feet in the shoes of somebody who has a learning disability and to really truly understand why Jesse did what he did. And then once he realized, and then for him to have enough courage and enough to actually not say it again in court, to not testify against these guys when he could have received a much lower sentence, tells me a lot. Right?
Didn't they tell him that like he could get conjugal visits with his girlfriend?
Yeah, they did.
Like,
they did.
Got, like,
and
excited about it, like thinking that it was like
they did. And they did. And when it came down to it, he would not repeat that shit again in court because he said it was a lie. Like, he just went. You look at that whole interview. Everything he said was fed to him. Every last piece of evidence was fed to him. Every last piece. So it's the most unreliable confession ever. And it was used.
That one.
And it was used.
One.
And so he had perhaps bragged to some people in jail about it or something. Again, maybe to just try and make himself
Oh,
look
so he-
tough.
Yeah,
or
but there's an actual confession with him on tape with his lawyers present. You have to address it.
okay,
Okay,
let's address
so
that one. Yeah.
Okay. We have
What's
to
he-
address it. So the deal is what? Go ahead, Kate. What were you saying? Sorry.
I was going to say, what does he say in that particular confession?
Jen's gonna tell us.
It's not any better, to be quite honest with you, but it has to be addressed because let me say this, Kate, and this is just me telling you from my own personal experience. When you cover this case, you're going to get the people that are staunch, and I mean just as staunch as I am as supporting. They've been just as staunch non-supporters for as long as I have, and they will get you on every single detail. So if you don't address the Bible confession.
I disagree that they won't. That they will get. I started reading the opposite books. There's a few of the opposite books, like the West Memphis Three did it, and blah blah blah, and this is why. I think that those confessions make no sense because his original attorneys, and everybody knows this, your attorneys, when you are poor, will always try and get you to make a deal as opposed to try and get you, if you're innocent, out of something. Okay? I think that could be confused sometimes with somebody like truly being guilty of something, or that he had ineffective counsel, which I think that was the case. He had ineffective counsel. And maybe that's why he said those things to them.
So what does he say in the in the like? What does he say different in that confession particularly? Like,
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. He does talk. It isn't anything like glaringly different. He adds that this is what the non-supporters hold on to in the confession. The detail that he adds is that Vicky Hutchinson bought him and his other friend whiskey, Evan Williams whiskey.
And they found the whiskey bottle, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So.
They found the whiskey bottle.
Yeah. So they found the whiskey bottle.
No, they found the whiskey bottle broken right where Jesse said it
where
would
he
be.
said it was going to be,
but under the overpass.
But doesn't mean anything because
no, it doesn't.
I mean, it could be connected to like just them drinking and not
exactly. It could just 100% be that. And at first, I hear you, Jen. When that's the one thing that stuck out in my mind. Also, he did say that this whiskey bottle would be here at this time, and it was, or whatever, right? But does that connect them in any way to connect him in any way to this murder? Absolutely
well, I mean,
not.
Yeah, because you can't. He got that one detail right, but nothing about nothing that Jesse says in any of his confessions, right, matches the known
evidence,
physical evidence.
Absolutely,
none of it, and that's why it's an issue. But I'm just warning Kate, as soon as this live stream ends, because you have West Memphis in the title, they're going to listen. They won't even listen to what but you're going to get like these long posts.
I do both. So I just bought, there's somebody that wrote a three volume book series on how they absolutely are guilty. Right.
Yeah.
And I started reading the first one because they're very cheap on Kindle. Right. So I was like, not the one I sent you, Kate. That one, they're kind of on the West Memphis Three side. But there's another 3 books about how, these people are absolutely convinced that they did it. Okay. And that is probably one of the biggest pieces of evidence that they claim is that Jesse said that this bottle would be there at this time, and they found that bottle. Okay.
Right.
Now, so the F what? You know what I mean?
Prove that it proves that he broke a bus.
Proves that he remembers they were drinking.
Right. Exactly. It proves that. But here's the other thing: they don't ever address this part. when was Vicky Hutchinson available to be purchasing this whiskey for Jesse in the first damn place? Because she has other things going on May 5th other than running to the liquor store.
Yeah. Yeah.
That she was doing.
Well,
So,
even now,
Did
like
they have any
I go
receipts
by what
or-
Vicky
No.
says now.
or footage of her
Vicky
at the
now
liquor
says
store?
that she lied about everything, right?
yeah, but Vicky never said she bought them the whiskey either. She never said that. They never
Okay.
asked.
Okay, they
So
never
she
asked.
couldn't have had time anyways. Listen,
No, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
years later now, she's like,
right.
everything I said was a lie. You know what I mean? I played the honeypot for the cops for whatever reason, and I apologize for that. And I could see in her eyes that she was feeling bad about it, and she did lie. You know?
She did.
So, and she admits she lied. We're not talking about somebody who's like, no. We're talking
No.
about somebody who was like, yes, I absolutely 100% lied about what I said.
Did
I
she
didn't
say
go
why
to
she
any
lied though? Like,
why she didn't say why she lied. Well, I think she kind of alluded slightly to like that, you know, it would put her in a better standing in some way with the cops. Now, maybe she's like a low-level drug dealer or I don't know what her deal is, right?
She had a
But-
case against her for bad checks and shit.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so
That's
there
why.
you go. That's what it was. And then so 10 years later, she realizes to lie about somebody about murder is not worth fucking bad checks. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So she admitted that she absolutely lied, like 100% lied about everything she said. She said they pushed her into bringing around these Damien around books that talked about Satanism and da 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 da. And yeah, he never took the bait,
No.
and she lied. I mean, and she admits she lied. So you know, that's it. There's nothing more than that. She admits it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to read the case file and do a whole follow up on this video, like, because I didn't like. There is just so much. Like, once we start like talking about it, I remember like all the stuff, but like there's still some things that I don't even know. Like,
oh yeah,
I thought I knew a lot for like covering this. It's crazy. Like
it's a lot. It's a lot, and to me, it's always been. For me, this has always stuck in my mind. Like, I've been a true crime junkie since even before the age of 12. But when I was about 12, I really, really, really got interested in it. And this case was definitely one of the first in my teenage years because of this outsider aspect and the brilliant way that HBO filmed that documentary, which is kind of biased, but like I said, I think I mentioned to somebody in a message, it is biased. All these documentaries are biased, but it's not biased in such a way that it's complete bullshit. You know, because you can't bullshit your way out of real evidence.
Jen, have you read Terry Hobbs' book?
I have it. But I haven't read it yet. I got it for my birthday. I've been putting it
off.
off.
I'm gonna read it. I didn't even know
I
it
think
existed.
I'm gonna read it too, and then we might have to have like a
there
we go. That's what
we got book club.
We all talk about it, like
book club.
Well, yeah, we should. I feel like something about the documentaries that a lot of people don't know is that when Bruce Sinofsky and Joe Berlinger went to West Memphis, they thought the boys did it.
Yes, they did. They did.
Mm-hmm.
I did know that. I did know that.
They documented it, and so they documented everything, right? Like they have the entire trial.
Yes.
On video. But obviously, they only can make a 2-hour documentary.
Right. They're the ones who did Paradise Lost, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Paradise Lost 2, and then Paradise Lost 3. They did all of those. But yeah, I know but isn't that the case with most people? It's like if you look back at Truman Capote, when he did In Cold Blood, right? So this is like the first example of something like that. But when he went down there, what he realized was these two guys did it, right? So, like, the book that he wrote humanizes those guys, but at the same time doesn't exonerate them because they actually really did do it. And I think that a lot of people like to be Truman Capote-esque when they do their writing of these cases, especially these guys that did the HBO documentary. They go in thinking, you know, that's what's up. They did do this, and obviously change their mind because only an insane person, in my opinion, would find these guys guilty for this crime. Like, not an insane person, but somebody who's not thinking.
I was shocked how many people on Reddit believe they did it.
I feel like people on Reddit like to be contrarians.
Like I literally, like, I always comb Reddit for, well, I don't know, because like I was big on Barry Morphew's Innocence, and man.
No,
like,
I know you were.
Reddit
Kate,
was like,
but Kate, in a way, Kate, you were right because there wasn't enough evidence. I personally believe Barry did it. Okay, but can I prove that 100%?
There's just not enough for me to go there.
There's just not enough evidence to get me there either. Like, I know in my gut, I think he did it. Right, but that's not the way justice works. They didn't have the evidence.
I think I look at it from a different point of view because we have a contracting business, and like a lot of the thing, like I feel like I could see, like I've seen a lot of people dump stuff in several dumpsters because they don't want to pay the money.
Because they don't want to pay to have things dumped. I mean, that is not what incriminates him. That's not what incriminates
all the prosecuting stuff, like the pings were bullshit. The expert told them that the pings weren't a viable theory because static drift, and they still went with it.
Everybody knows that. Again, what a horrible way to try and prove something. Everybody knows the pings don't work perfectly. Everybody fucking knows that.
If anyone has Find My iPhone and
I do.
iPhone, you know that shit will put you in a river.
My son was with his dad this weekend. Okay, and I had to find my iPhone. That's a whole whatever story about why I don't trust his dad. But, you know, I had it on all weekend and I'm looking at where he is. And for like half a day, he didn't move from one location. But on the Find My iPhone app, he was bouncing from here to there to there to here. And I was like, you know, obviously this thing's not perfect for
I know. A lot of people don't agree with me on Barry. I'm not saying that I'm not saying I'm totally convinced it wasn't him.
Kate,
I'm just
I think it was him. I think he did it. But can I prove it?
Compelling evidence, and I just don't have compelling evidence with that at all. Like
neither do I. In this case, in that case, again, my only thing is a gut feeling. Right? Which what more can you do with that? Not a whole hell of a lot. So I think that the way they dismissed that was the right thing to do. There wasn't enough evidence. There just wasn't.
I think the prosecutors fucked that case up majorly.
No, big time.
I think Linda Stanley rushed it because she wanted, you know, a big case.
Oh, yeah. She wanted to be the hero. Yeah. Yeah.
There was a question I was going to say. But on Reddit. I was on Reddit and I was like, because I went down this big Terry Hobbs rabbit hole. Like, I read all the shit about Terry Hobbs, and I was like, man, and then I went on Reddit, and I was like, the hell? Like, everybody, like, there was like, I mean, there was hardly, I couldn't find that many people that thought it was Terry Hobbs, but most people that I've talked to think it's Terry Hobbs. So I was kind of like shocked on Reddit, like how many people actually believe.
Okay, so to go with Reddit, right? Reddit not to be too generalizing, but Reddit is a lot of males, and there is a lot of like male driven perspective on Reddit, in my opinion. You know,
Yeah, I can see that.
Well,
um,
I get, yeah, that's true. But I also think that if you think about it, this back when they were in prison, right? The
mhm,
people who were crying out for justice were the
mhm,
people who supported them, right?
yeah,
So if there was Reddit back when, like in the 2000s when it really came to the internet, right? There would have
mhm,
been far more people on Reddit proclaiming their innocence. The reason why why you're seeing a more overwhelming non-supportive stance is because they're not in jail anymore. And most
yeah,
supporters, that when they what they wanted was to see happen is exactly what happened, that the West Memphis Three were freed, and
yeah.
they sort of then just took that and walked away from the case. But then you have the people like me who, great, I'm glad that they're free, but now I want justice for the boys.
So do I. And that's why,
So
and actually, that's why I really tremendously respect Jason Baldwin, because he did not want to take that plea, the Alford plea,
mhm,
because he knew what that meant, right? He knew
yeah,
that that would mean that they would no longer have to investigate this case.
Yeah.
And this guy
I
who
mean,
had spent
nobody wants
almost
to plead guilty, even though they're maintaining their innocence. Nobody wants to plead guilty.
exactly, but like Jason put his mouth where, like he put it where it, what's the saying I'm looking for? He
the
put
money where its mouth is.
his money where his mouth is, exactly, because he did not want to take that plea because he wanted to be 100% exonerated before leaving prison.
Yeah,
And
Right.
that
What
goes
are
to
you
show
saying?
me
Like
what a
Jason?
stand-up guy he is. He said he only ended up doing it for his friends, and I truly believe him. Like
I've
he's
always just had a gut feeling about him that I just
oh,
cannot see
you
that kid
can
doing
tell.
anything.
You can
Like,
tell when you look at into somebody's eyes, and like you can tell. I mean, it's not scientific, it's not whatever, you know what I mean?
he
right.
just
But
seems so passive to me. Like I just can't see that guy ever capable of doing those things to those
me
kids. I can't.
neither. And the fact that, and even let's say with Jesse originally not wanting to testify against them, and then Jason later not wanting to take the Alford plea because he knew that that would mean that the case is over and that he's not 100% exonerated, and that somebody else might actually who deserves to go to jail for these disgusting crimes. You know,
Right.
that's a real man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he that you just know that's a good person. That's a good person to do
Now,
something
did
like
he
that.
have any like his like any like arrests or anything, Jason?
No, he shoplifted. That was it. Like, who hasn't had a shop? I shoplifted many times before I was 16.
Yeah,
Does
Yeah.
that make me?
Jason
Does,
doesn't have anything in his past that would suggest
mm,
he would be violent. Damien was a shit talker mainly. He wasn't
and I was just
actually
gonna say,
violent.
Damien
Damien always
also
came out like a little cocky and like a confident.
Damien, honestly, this is why everybody does. This is why Johnny Depp and Eddie Vedder and Rollins and all these people identify with him, because he is a shit talking, sassy, if you will, teenager that you know thought he knew everything, was trying to be cool, took everything as a joke, and
Yeah,
blah blah blah. I see myself in him when I was a teenager, because I was exactly the same way. I thought I
Yeah.
knew
yeah, but
everything. I was into
Dam-
the dark side of things, but I lived in a big city. I live in a big city. Nobody gave a fuck about shit like that,
And that's the Bible Belt. It's
You
different.
know what I mean? We're
yeah,
talking
but
about West Memphis.
Damien did have some problematic issues. If you so
Yeah.
No, I know he
they
did.
bring
Violent stuff before, right? Like,
I know he did,
well,
but
I
go
mean,
ahead.
he had he did get into fights. He did but more than that. When you look at Exhibit 500, which I don't think, Exhibit 500 is Damien's evidence. It was a mitigating factor. It was what they were arguing why he shouldn't receive the death
yes.
penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look through the record, Damien did have some psychiatric issues, mainly depression, but I think he was more. I think he was more suicidal than homicidal, but he did make he did say some stuff.
Oh, he
which
said he would
ended
be
up,
the next Ted Bundy or Marilyn Manson, didn't he?
Yeah, no,
he
that's
said
what
he
I
would
mean.
be the next Jeffrey. I think he said
He was
Jeffrey Dahmer, actually. I can't remember who he said.
he is much more okay to even write those things to begin with, which I have similar kind of stupid writings from when I'm a kid, but because I'm a girl, nobody would ever, like, you know what I'm saying? But like you know, I've been published in and it's kind of embarrassing to this day, like the poems that are published in my high school yearbook and all that. You know, I was that dark, edgy person, you know what I mean? Who blah blah blah, like wrote poetry and was, and the reason why I did that was because I actually really was depressed. I really did have trauma. Things happened to me that I was responding to by putting up this cocky front, this persona, you
Right.
know, and I think, again, like I'm saying, I think that's why people like Eddie Vedder and all those guys, they saw themselves in him because they were like, yeah, he's a cocky motherfucker, and you know what I mean, he's weird and whatever, but is he a murderer? Nah, I don't get that vibe from him. Again,
No, I don't get that vibe from him.
Don't.
But to be fair, okay, so the thing of it is that it wasn't what he wrote that got him in charter and stuff like that. It was things that he said.
Yes.
To, like, especially when they moved away from Arkansas and they were in Oregon, he did make a threat to his dad and his parents, and his mom was worried about him. That is true. And but I don't. What I will say is that I don't think that Damien was homicidal, but I think he was more in danger of harming himself, and than anything else. But his home life was very chaotic. Pam was back and forth between Jack and Joe, and there's allegations of SA.
Yes, there is,
and stuff like that. So it's not. He did not have an ideal home life, or even really a good home life. And you know, there isn't anything though in Jason's. Now Jesse, on the other hand, Jesse does have violence.
I would see Jesse would have the most
Jesse
propensity.
was trying to fight all these people in jail, wasn't he? He just wanted to fight.
But he fought. But he beat up. He fought before that, and he
so
also.
If anybody had the most propensity for violence, it would have been Jesse, right?
Correct.
But it would have been in the most rudimentary sense, where you see a guy on the street and you fight him.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? This wasn't a man who's going to sit there and plan a murder or whatever of 3 boys to do this and that, or even as a mistake. Okay, I just still don't see that.
No,
in
I don't
him
see
either.
it either.
And I definitely don't see it in Jason in particular. And Damien, I think Damien really, the term witch hunt and all that kind of thing really describes what was going on with him. Everybody in the town thought he was a fucking weirdo. And he, you know, the fact, like, I live in Canada, and I was a weird kid in 1993 too. We didn't have people at our school or on the police force that were specialists in Satan worship. I used to wear a Danzig shirt to school every day, which was an upside down cross, you know, and yeah, some of the kids that would be like, whatever, would be like, what are you wearing? And and I'd be like, oh, actually, this means not that I'm a Satanist, but that I'm anti-Christianity, right? Or whatever.
I mean, when I was younger,
that's the kind of kid I was like, you know what I mean?
I went into I like knowing random shit, and I started reading like Aleister Crowley books. And
Yeah,
stuff.
me too. Me too.
Like I'm not dark or anything, but my uncle would always talk about Aleister Crowley and
like
Led Zeppelin.
I'm
what's
not
his name? The guitarist. Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy Page. Yeah.
Jimmy Page. He lived on Loch Ness Lake in Aleister Crowley's castle, and he just sounded so interesting to me. So I started reading Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was so interesting. Like I used to, bring my friends into it all, and this is before the internet, so you know what I mean. You'd had to go out and find conspiracy books and things like that, and I was just always into true crime and whatever. And anyways, the way I dressed was not a reflection that I was a Satanist. It was a reflection that I was anti-Christianity, and anti what all that stood for. Right?
What was this questionnaire they filled out? Oh, sorry, I'm looking through the.
So when the boys' bodies were found, they got help from the FBI, and the FBI put together a list of questions for the police to ask any potential suspects, but they also used it when they went door to door canvassing the neighborhood. The problem is they canvassed only Michael and Christopher's neighborhood. They never crossed
really
Barden and canvassed Steve's neighborhood.
Wow.
So it's a whole section of the community that they did not ask about.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised. Because the way they bungled the fact that like Terry was never ever properly looked into, I mean, they really fucked that up. Okay.
Nobody was really ever properly. No, not nobody. None of the parents were properly interviewed, and that's just a fact, except for Mark Byers, and
except for Mark because he's a weird. Right.
And no, they interviewed. The reason that they went at Mark the way that they did is because Mark was familiar to them.
Because he'd been arrested before, but so had Terry, though, right?
But he was also a confidential informant.
That's right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. He was a snitch. Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
Was he involved in like a lot of crime? It's like, I know.
I mean, nothing major. It was like, we're talking petty shit, basically.
The jewelry store shit wasn't petty. The selling of the fake Rolexes.
I always think like unless something is violent, in my opinion, it's that's just my opinion.
Well, the gun where he went out with that shotgun and like that. I mean, that could be considered violent.
Exactly. Yeah, it could be for sure.
It was violent, but that was also after. So
that was after. Yeah, the thing with the teenagers that I was like, what? Like when that first came out, I was like, okay, maybe it's him. And then after a while, though, I was thinking, wow, this guy's almost too good of a villain. It's almost like and he's playing into it a bit. And you always got to look. I mean, you always got to look at the close family members. Like the fact that, like, it just is baffling to me.
Especially when it seems so personal. Like,
really, really baffles me that they never properly interviewed or interrogated any and all of these people.
So I think that part of the reason, another big reason why they honed in on Mark in a way that they didn't hone in on the other fathers was, first and foremost, they would not. Todd had an alibi. Okay,
well,
he was
Todd was out of town.
Right, he's a truck driver.
That was Michael Moore's dad?
Yeah. Todd is 100% cleared off my list.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He wasn't there at all.
And his wife, Dana. The both of them had nothing to do with this.
No.
Absolutely not. Okay. So, yeah, we can cross those two off for sure.
Right.
So, wait, did they think that, look at Mark as like a suspect? Like,
well, they did more than any of the other parents. Yeah.
but I think the reason for that was a couple. I think one, because they asked him straight out if this was some act of revenge on him. And the reason that they thought that is because when they saw the boys, when they pulled them out, what was done to Chris Byers was so egregious that they thought he was the target. But if you go back and look at the autopsy reports, what was done to Stevie was much, much worse. Stevie, that's to me.
So
Stevie got the worst of it. 100%.
Yeah, to me, even though looking at it, just on the surface, it would seem that a child being, I guess, emasculated would be the most egregious, which is why they looked so much deeper.
But what kind of idiot cops are these that live in this area and don't know that there are turtles and look what time of the year this was. I mean, hello, there's flesh dangling down in the water. Of course animals are going to go at it. And if you think of it from that perspective and then look at the autopsy photos, you're like 100% most of these are animal bites. And
does it look more like animal bites and me
it 100% does, except for one thing, which is the bite on Stevie's face. That looks like a human.
Oh, there was
bite.
a bite on this.
Yeah.
Well,
right? No, Jennifer.
I mean, I don't. Okay, that's been a source of stuff for a long, long time. The problem I have with that specific mark is the X in the middle of it. That's not. I don't know anybody that bites anybody, even on the eyelid like that, or the. It's not really the eyelid. It's right where your brow and your
eye there.
Yeah, it just, there's an X and it doesn't, I can't tell you whether it's a bite mark or not because I don't know.
So
but
there's an X in the middle of the mark?
Yeah, it's on Stevie's eye.
But beside his eye, I mean, and to me, it does look like a bite mark. But see, the thing is, we shouldn't even have to speculate these things. They should have checked it, which it wasn't in the initial autopsy report, even listed as an injury.
No, it wasn't.
It was not listed as an injury.
But not all the injuries were either. That's the problem.
No, I know, but a bite to the face, a bite to the face.
I'd have to see a picture of this. I don't want to pull it up on stream.
Like that should 100% be looked at.
Well, right, but here's the problem. So the thing is that in order to really understand the investigation and how everything happened, you kind of have to go through Callahan's and you have to sort of sort it by the date, which is hard because that's not the way it's laid out. Right. But the truth is that Gitchell, it's very difficult to formulate a suspect if you don't even know what happened. And they were waiting for Gitchell was hounding Dr. Peretti day and night, like forever, okay, for the autopsy. And he would call and ask questions and stuff like that. So to be fair to the cops, they were really working off of nothing, right? Because the autopsies weren't done. And there was a lot of external situations going on simultaneously that made this a particularly difficult and fucked up case okay, good. I hope so because it already came out. But that's what there were multiple things going on at the same time, and I have never ascribed to the belief that the police intentionally or even accidentally bungled this investigation, because I can tell you when you look through the case file at the people and the amount of interviews that were conducted.
I mean, I'm looking through right now. Look at this shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. So there were.
I mean, they interviewed everybody in town.
Hold on, they did hundreds of interviews, but never properly fucking interrogated Terry Hobbs?
He was, okay. No, they never to be fair.
But I mean, isn't that the
They
first
never-
person? Like, if my son went missing, the first fucking person they would fucking ask
The first people you gotta look into
is his stepdad.
Well,
No?
we don't. Well, no, I'm not disagreeing with you, but here's the problem. We don't actually know for a fact what they were asked, aside from John Byers. That's John Mark. That's the only, well, Mark really. Mark Byers, the only person we know exactly what was asked and what was answered is Mark, because they recorded that interview. The rest of the parents, they were interviewed, but there were notes taken. And that whole situation is problematic anyway, because even if you take Mark Byers' statement and the things that he said occurred that night, right? From the time that Chris was actually missing for longer. He was missing since after school. Then they found him. Then he went missing again.
Yeah.
So the truth of the matter, but none of the other stuff that Mark says he did or occurred that day where there were people around has been verified. I don't know what Melissa told the cops, because they didn't bother to to take good notes. It's not in the case file. I don't know what Pam Hobbs said. We don't know what anybody said as far as they go. But as far as suspects go, they actually interviewed quite a few people, and the one sex offender that they interviewed several, but the one that they interviewed the most was James Martin. They have him on audio, and guess who he named as a suspect? Terry Hobbs.
Who?
Terry Hobbs.
Yeah, Terry Hobbs.
Terry Hobbs.
So yeah, this is my whole thing. Like, if any of these things should have been recorded.
I'm about to blow your mind more.
Okay, blow my mind. Sorry, girl. Go ahead.
Okay. He named Terry Hobbs. Chris Morgan and Brian Holland, they were interviewed in California by none other than Chris McDonough.
No way.
Yes. Now you look
there's
at that
more problems.
Right. Now, if you look at that interview, they are connected to the case because Christopher Morgan's family lived next door or 2 houses down from the Hobbs. And Chris Morgan and Brian Holland were there at the Hobbs home in the days following the murders. They helped move a refrigerator into the home that was like Rent-A-Center or something like that. Okay. So when the police do interview Pam and Terry, they ask if there's anybody that's been around that isn't around anymore, yada, yada, yada. Well, Pam drops Chris Morgan's name because Christopher Morgan evidently asked for a picture of Stevie. All right. So they call California because they had taken off to California like 3 or 4 days after the murders. That weekend or something. It was the 5th. It was a Wednesday. I think they left like on a Saturday because they were there Friday.
So
all right. So they go in and
who's Chris?
Chris Morgan was neighbors. His family was the neighbors of the Hobbs.
I remember seeing that in the movie where she said he asked for a picture and she gave it to him.
Yeah. So Chris McDonough interviews both of them. Brian Holland is the only, I can't remember if it's Brian or if it's Christopher, one of the two of them now, is the only person that ever got the way that the boys were tied correctly.
Oh, wow.
And they said that the things that they knew about the crime came from Terry Hobbs.
Yeah.
And when they talked to Terry Hobbs about it, Terry Hobbs said, they didn't hear that shit from me. I never talked about what happened.
Yeah, sure.
I never talked about what was seen or unseen.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted to talk to, I've tried every way that I know how to reach out through directly and through other people, because I really want to talk to Chris McDonough. I don't want to hear anything about the interviews or anything.
I have a feeling he wouldn't tell the truth anyway.
All I want to know is when he called.
Tag Chris McDonough in a video.
I've tagged him a million times. All I want to know is when you called West Memphis and you spoke to Inspector Gitchell and you relayed the results of the interview with Chris Morgan and Brian Holland, what did he say? That's all I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because they are they are the only people that ever got the hog tying correctly. They're the only people. The
Right.
only, and maybe they did hear it from.
I think it's 100%
So
possible that
James
just got
Martin
out.
was a convicted child.
Yes.
Okay.
I think knowing about the hog tying probably doesn't mean that much because there was like a
He said
million
some
people
things
that
about
knew
them,
about it, you know.
but there weren't. That's
But
the
there
thing.
was though. There was
They're
because
not the white. They no. The thing is that when people talk about the hog tying, they
there's
don't
more
tell.
people, there's more people that knew about it back then than, let's say, for example, right now know exactly how Abby and Libby were killed.
There were
You know what I
some
mean?
details, right, but not. So the thing
So
is that
back then, even when the first Paradise Lost came out, I don't know, that was a few years after the murder, everybody definitely knew that because they showed that shit almost,
right,
and yeah.
But what I'm saying is at the time of these guys were interviewed before Damien and Jason were ever arrested.
Mm-hmm.
They were interviewed in California early on,
Okay.
and he's the only person that knew that the hands were in front of the feet,
Right.
not behind.
Mm-hmm.
And there were certain details, and I went through every single article, either through the Arkansas Democratic Gazette, the Commercial Appeal, or the Arkansas Times. And there are certain details about the crime that were never ever released to the public.
Should be. As there should be.
Right. So they did that part correctly. And there are things that Christopher Morgan and Brian Holland said with respect to injuries that wasn't common knowledge. And the nobody knew. In fact, Christopher Byers was actually incorrectly identified.
Yes,
Initially.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
That is true. And nobody knew that only one child was emasculated. Nobody but the police knew that. That wasn't when you hear the news when the news broadcasters talk about it, when in the newspaper, that detail was never released.
I always just wonder though if like sometimes people to their family members stuff, like for example, my brother-in-law is a police officer and he had to discharge his weapon not long ago, down the street from where I live here. And, I didn't even hear it directly from him, but my sister told me the story of what happened or whatever. And this is why the SIU is investigating and blah, 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 blah. And I could have gone on to say that to you guys, but actually mentioned his name, let's say. Right. And you know what I mean? Like stuff like that can actually pass around, even if it's not, it could pass around. You know what I mean? Like that the one boy was emasculated. Like that could have been passed around. It could have been. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it would have, if it was passed around, don't you think it would have come up in the case file?
Oh, well, you'd think so. Yeah.
But it
you
didn't.
Would think so, right? But it didn't. Okay.
But it didn't.
I'm trying to look up old newspaper articles to see if they mention.
If you go to Callahan's, you can the links to all the stuff are there.
Oh, they have newspaper articles too?
Yeah. They link you to Tapatalk, which is the old Easy Board message boards, and you can just click on the different. Yeah.
What's it called?
Callahan's.
So they mention like Satanism, but like so far I haven't seen
the Satanism stuff just makes
anything
it sound
about
so
like hog
stupid.
ties in particular.
I think that's truly what made them look like a bunch of idiots, is talking about Satanism. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Well, I went and looked at the articles that were written, and during the days of the investigation, not after the arrest, because that's different. But actually, during the days of the investigation, there wasn't anything about Satanism on the news or in the newspaper.
There shouldn't have been.
It was mainly it was like people that would come in and talk.
Yeah. But that's
So
how
was that
that's no way to build a case. You
No.
know what I mean? It's
No.
just like,
was that Martin guy in town when the murders happened?
Yeah, he worked at the Flash Market.
wow, eh? Mm.
So do you think he could be a possible? Like, do you think it? Well, no. I mean, his MO would be SA, then, right?
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And there was
This
no
was
SA.
not this. Yeah.
This was not an essay. This was an anger, personal rage, maybe even rage at somebody's mother, okay, on their
Yeah.
child that wasn't really their child, right? Just their
Do we know
stepchild.
if she ever cheated on Terry, or if there
Just
was
like
anything?
Leticia. Just like
They
Leticia.
said they. To
She
be
took
quite,
out all her fucking anger out on what she felt. You know what I mean?
right. I think with Pam and Terry, actually, there's allegations made by both of them that they were unfaithful to each other.
Yeah, there is. There is 100%.
Yeah.
And that just seems a lot more likely to me than you know, Satanists did this. Like what?
Right.
I don't know. It's not funny, but at the same
But
time, it's kind of funny. You know what I mean? Like what?
Right.
Oh yeah, they were in the one. It was under Damien Eccles, I think. They're like, in the notes, it was like pentagram and like just
Yeah.
going on and on about his like dark,
Yeah.
everything. And
Yeah.
really nothing that was like
Nothing that was
tied to a murder or anything, just how he was. Like,
Right.
not at all. Not at all.
oh, David Jacoby, here we go. Here's his interview.
Oh, but it's late. It's not. His is way after the fact.
Oh, okay.
Say the date.
Oh, 2007. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, girls. It's like 1:00 here.
Yeah, it's
I'm
1
gonna get
o'clock
off
here
of
too.
here.
I'm
But
gonna
you
have
guys
to
keep going. You're
shut this
doing a
down
good job,
myself.
Kate. And
Thanks.
my email is on my about section. So if you need anything, let me know, and I'll be happy to help.
Oh yeah, and
No, you're so knowledgeable.
Thank
I'm
you.
definitely
I'm
gonna
gonna have
read
to come with you
Terry.
with questions tomorrow. I'm gonna be like, "What's your email?"
It's right. It's
what
on
about
my.
this, Jen?
Yeah, ask away. I love discussing this case. I wasn't going to say anything about it I kind of took a break from it, but there's a court hearing June 23rd, which it's nothing to get real excited about. They're going to be arguing before before the judge, asking that this testing go forward. And I'm telling you right now, don't get your hopes up. And it's not for any other reason than the type of testing that they want to do. This MVAC testing is destructive. So once they test the shoelaces, it's a one and done. And they don't have Jason and Jesse on board doing it. And it's not because they're not on board and don't want the testing done. It's just that they don't have the money to have an attorney to go be on their behalf. And the thing is what's going to keep the judge probably from granting this is the fact that Jesse and Jason aren't involved because it is a destructive test. So there'll probably be some back and forth arguing, and perhaps, hopefully, what the judge will say is, all right, well, I'm not going to agree to the MVAC testing right now until you get Jesse and Jason on board. But I will allow for advances in testing on those shoelaces to go forward. That isn't MVAC. And then once you get because Jesse and Jason have to sign off on it because it can never be tested again. Once it's tested through MVAC, that's it. So
how would they be able to tie?
So once it gets tested, it's absolutely like
it's
invalid.
destroyed.
Really? Wow.
The shoelace will be destroyed. Yeah, it won't be. You won't be able to retest it for more DNA. It's done.
So they only got one shot.
Yeah.
Does it really
like the
matter though?
M&M
Like
song.
if they get Terry Hobbs' DNA, I mean, does it really matter? Because would it be enough to?
Well, they did get his DNA, but
No, I mean, like, how can I say it? Like they have his DNA, right? But like, there's not enough? There wouldn't be enough evidence to tie him to it, right? Like, regardless.
No, the best chance I think they have still, and I'm going to repeat myself like a broken record, but only obviously from pictures at this point, is to match that bite mark to somebody.
Well, this is what needs to happen. legally at this point, because now it's all about the legalities of it. The truth of the matter is that it is an Alford plea, but it is a
Yeah,
guilty
it's
plea
done.
too.
Yeah.
So what would have to happen first and foremost before anything else is Damien, Jason, and Jesse have to be completely exonerated of this crime. Legally exonerated, not in the court of public opinion, legally. So when, so
Then they
what
can
then,
reopen.
correct. Now, moving forward, it would be incredibly difficult to charge and then prosecute someone else for this crime because of the last, 30 years now, almost?
Oh
Would
my
there be
God.
a statute of limitations on it?
No, there's no statute of
For
limitations
murder,
on
right?
murder.
Yeah, there's
Right.
no.
But a good defense attorney is going to throw in all sorts of reasonable doubt with just the way the case was
I'm saying,
investigated from jump.
There's not on murder, but on a bunch of other charges, they would probably be if they tried to get him with anything like.
Right. But so that's the thing, it would, this case moving forward, because it's been so long and because other people were convicted of the crime, then pled guilty of the crime, now we're exonerated. A good defense attorney is going to have all types of reasonable doubt, right? For whoever they prosecuted. It's an uphill, it's an uphill battle. So,
I can't see them being able to ever get Terry for it, at least because just the fact that, like, the evidence, like, they're going to say, like, cross-contamination or, there's just...
Well, right. The very thing that they're saying didn't happen, and that's why the West Memphis Three are guilty, will be the very thing they say it makes Terry Hobbs, whoever they charge, innocent. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll use the same argument, but in a different way. It's ridiculous. I don't know. We'll have to see. But as far as the June 23rd hearing goes, it's just going to be that. And I don't think we're going to get an answer that day. I think it's going to be a while. But I would like to see that the boys get justice. I just have lost hope over these years. I've become realistic that they probably won't get justice like here on earth, but whoever did this will be punished, just not by a judge,
Yeah.
So, but thank you for having me
I
up,
will
babe.
definitely be emailing you because I'm going to go over this whole case file. I'm going to do another video on it, but it's probably going to be like in like a month and a half. Based on what this looks like, maybe more.
Well, the way I did it was I broke the case down like from the, first the kids from the missing, and then when they were found, and then all the different I grouped people together, by the early days of the investigation, and then I did an episode on Jason, and then I did an episode on Damien, and then I did an episode on Jesse. I think I did multiple episodes on Jesse and Damien, just because there's so much more on them than there is on Jason. Jason was the only one who was smart and didn't talk.
I know, that's what I was saying. Even in his like early, and I just can't see.
Well, they tried, babe. They tried to flip him. They went to his, when his mom came in for her interview, Brian Ridge worked. You've got to let Jesse talk to it, or Jason talk to us. And she's like, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Bless her heart.
He just seems so like passive and like, I could never see that guy.
Yeah, I went through all the scenarios. Okay, first I went through the three of them do it. Then I went through a combination of them, different roles or whatever. And then I even went down just the Damien by himself doing it. And the truth is there's just not enough evidence that I just don't believe that they did it. The evidence doesn't lend itself to their guilt.
I was gonna say, if like I can't see all three of them do it, but if there's one that I think might, maybe Damien, just like because, but that's just like that has nothing to do with evidence. Just like because he's kind of cocky and his history, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his, and I don't know, Jesse has a violent history too, but just like if I just can't, there's no way I could see Jason Baldwin and Bob.
Well, the thing is that all three suspects, right? They lived in trailer parks. Jesse babysat for the kids in his trailer park. Yeah. Jason was in charge of his younger brothers, and that they had access to kids. Where they lived in respect to where the boys lived is not okay. If you look at it on a map and you do the mileage, it's over 2 hour walk one way. It's
so there'd
not
be no
around the
reason for
corner.
them to even be watching them, like Jesse
Right.
said.
Why would they exactly? And Jason Baldwin
Or
even,
why would they even be hanging out in those woods if it's so far away?
exactly. And the other thing is that Jason had a girlfriend that lived in that neighborhood, and he hated that she lived so far because he needed a ride to get to her. He didn't want to do that walk. It's a bitch of a walk.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a whole other host of stuff. But yeah, thank you for letting me be up.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
You're
welcome.
I'm gonna have to watch your videos on it, and I'm gonna read this Terry Hobb books, and then we're gonna have to have a
Yes,
book thing
you
after.
definitely need to do the Terry Hobb book. It'll motivate me to read the book. I need to.
Yeah, we need to read the book, and then we all need to meet back after we read the book and have a book club meeting to talk about it. Because I'm
absolutely, absolutely. All right, you guys. Good night. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, bye.
I'm actually gonna shut it down too because it is like 1:10 here, and I'm getting kind of tired.
Hello?
You up here, Jem?
Hey, sorry, I booted myself off again.
That's all right. I think I'm gonna end it anyway because it's like 1 o'clock in the morning here. But Jem, we need to read this book, and me, you, and Jen are gonna come back and have a book club meeting. And Sarah, if she wants to read it too, you gonna read the book, Sarah?
There's so many books, but the one I got was only like $4.
I want to read this Terry Hobbs one though. Like that's
me too. What was it called?
A Box Full of Nightmares. So if anyone wants to be part of this book club meeting, read A Box Full of Nightmares.
Oh my God, book club.
Yes, Sarah, you're gonna come up too. We're gonna have a book club meeting about the book. But yeah, that's, and I plan to do more. I'm gonna go through this case file, but it's probably gonna take. That's probably a good idea. What Jen said, to break it down, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. Like, look, guys, this is just like the interviews and stuff in the case file. Ready? And then they have court transcripts on top of this.
Those are always fun to read.
Look at this shit. Oh my God. Like,
oh shit.
So long. Yeah.
That's a lot.
But I'm gonna slowly pick it apart. I gotta do other cases in between, so it's gonna take me
no, definitely. What next? What next, you think, Kate? What's next for you and your channel, girl?
I was just getting asked to do hold on, what was it, Tyler something? Let me find it. I'll tell you. I'm gonna look into that for them.
Oh, that kid?
The kid who went missing, Tyler.
Yeah, what's his name?
Where did they say it? I'm gonna find it. Hold on, it's in chat somewhere. Tyler Davis.
Yes, that one.
So I'm looking at. I'm just like, there's not really much going on in the like true crime.
I kind of wonder what happened with that Harmony Montgomery stuff. Like, I know that they
were just at a
building, right?
In a building, yeah. And they found nothing. They looked in the sewer. They didn't find anything in there, but they took a refrigerator from this apartment.
Weird, right?
And the sheriff or whoever was in charge of it said he's not commenting any further because it could jeopardize the investigation. So so we won't know, not yet. And then
that one, and then always still with like the Delphi murders, I'm just like, I just can never believe how they have video and audio on the guy.
Well, I think they're honing in on the right people on the Delphi murders. That guy.
I hope so. It's been like 5 years, man. Like,
because if you look at that guy's dad, he looks like
He
both
does.
sketches individually. It's really bizarre, but he looks like both of them.
He really does. He really
Like,
does.
if
Yeah.
you put the two sketches together into one human, that would be the guy's dad. I forget the
So now there's a case. Now there's a case that they're keeping all of the evidence locked down. We know nothing about what happened there, or at least I don't.
Yeah. I know they were like positioned, but there's a lot of stuff they've been quiet about.
Yeah, which is smart. Smart.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I think they're definitely honing in on
I hope so.
Yeah, green screen. I agree. We might have to assign some reading in this case to different people, and then let me know what they find out, because there's so many things in here. Like, here, you take this interview, and we'll break it down.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry for babbling so much, but like, oh yeah, this case is so.
I'm excited about cases.
Me too. I get so excited about these things, so I'm just like, yeah, you know.
That's all right. And I like when people come up here and talk a lot. You know, it gives me stuff
Time to chill.
Wait, guys. Here is the case file link in case anybody wants to look at it themselves. I will share that.
I've actually never read the case file. Yeah.
Really? I'll send you. I'll send it to you personally. I'll message it to you in on Telegram. But yeah, it's got everything. I mean, like trial transcripts, timeline, documents, press coverage, pleadings, photos. I mean, it's got everything.
I love a timeline. We always need timelines, you know?
Oh yeah, I love timelines. Yep, timelines.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have, right, I think, yeah, look.
Like in the Wells case, the timeline is so fucked up. That's what always gets me all fucked up in that case. I'm like,
the Wells case?
Yeah, because I'm like, you didn't have eyes on her for 2 minutes? Is that what you're saying? 2 minutes?
Yeah,
like,
I didn't know, yeah.
Do you want to give yourself a little more time there, lady? Because 2 minutes does not sound right.
I mean, but at the same time, some people just say, like, you know, oh, it was like 2 minutes, but really, you know, they just, it's not smart when your kid's missing and you're talking to investigators to do that, but, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. That whole case is just strange. Like, I don't know. Who knows?
Thanks, Molson Man. I will cover, thanks, Gladys. Thank you. I will be covering a lot of lives, and if anyone has any case ideas, like, you know, bring them.
Well, I sent you a bunch, but apparently you weren't on that messaging.
Oh, on Signal. Send them to me on Telegram, and then
I was like, I have so many good ideas, and then I didn't hear back from you. I'm like, oh, I guess they won't back it.
Signal takes up so much space on my phone. You wouldn't.
It does. It does.
I was like, holy crap! It
kind of gets crazy because you have Messenger, WhatsApp, you know, Telegram,
Signal for some reason, like more than Messenger. Like, you know, that bar that shows you like what's what and like what takes up on apps. Like when I got rid of Signal, my app bar went like halfway down. I was like, what the hell?
Oh no way! I didn't even realize that.
It takes up a lot of space. It really does.
Dang. The only thing I don't like about Telegram is that I don't know about you guys, but I constantly get like solicited by people that like want to sell me crypto and shit.
Oh, I got solicited by like, I keep getting messages from random people like, hey, and then I don't answer them. So
yeah, I blocked them, but like I've never gotten so many as since I've been on Telegram. Like I feel like
to be on Snap. I get like sex snaps like every day on Snapchat.
Oh my god, really?
I'm like, why are they targeting me? I don't even like all these weird names too. At least like once a week, I get one. Like,
it's so weird because you'll be in like a YouTube channel or whatever about like a serious crime, and underneath it'll be like XXX hot sexy women from wherever, and I'm like, ugh. I think you're in the wrong.
Yeah, I had. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna cut it because I'm getting tired and it's really late here. But Jem, I will send you the link, and we will all meet back up after we read the Terry Hobbs stuff. And send me the list of cases because if you want to come up and talk any cases, with me,
definitely will. Thanks for having me up. Sorry for annoying everybody.
No, you weren't annoying. You were very knowledgeable, which I enjoyed. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, guys. Have a good night, everyone.
All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. Don't forget to subscribe and like my video if you haven't.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Good night. Bye.